Nina's trembling hands betray her composure as she disconnects the last sensor array. The Romulan xenobiologist steals a glance at Arthur Miller, the human astrophysicist working beside her. Their eyes meet, and in that moment, the weight of their impending separation crashes down upon her. The research station on Novice Prime bustles with activity as the joint human-Romulan expedition prepares for departure. After 6 months of shared discovery and unspoken connection, their mission draws to a close. Arthur, focused on carefully packing delicate equipment, fails to notice Nina's inner turmoil. Commander Sarah Hayes approaches, datapad in hand. Arthur, we need to accelerate our timeline. The Romulan ship's set to depart in 2 hours. Arthur nods, his weathered face etched with concentration. Understood, Commander. We're nearly finished here. Nina's breath catches in her throat. 2 hours. The countdown to heartbreak begins. Captain Vartex, the imposing Romulan mission leader, strides into the research dome. His presence sends a ripple of tension through the mixed crew. Sub-Lieutenant Nina, report on your section status. Nina straightens, struggling to find her voice. Captain, I can't. Arthur turns, concern etched on his features. Nina, the dam breaks. Tears stream down Nina's face as she faces Arthur. I won't go back. I can't leave you. A hush falls over the dome. Human and Romulan crew members freeze, shock evident on their faces. Captain Vartex's eyes narrow dangerously. Sub-Lieutenant, you forget yourself. Return to the ship immediately. Nina stands her ground, her voice quavering but determined. No, Captain. I wish to remain with Arthur. On Earth. Gasps echo through the dome. Commander Hayes steps forward, her voice low and urgent. Arthur, we need to defuse the situation. Now. Arthur's mind races. The non-fraternization agreement looms large, a cornerstone of the fragile human-Romulan alliance. Yet, Nina's tear-streaked face chips away at his resolve. Captain Vartex signals to his security detail. Escort Sub-Lieutenant Nina to the ship. She is clearly unwell. As Romulan officers approach, Nina's desperation peaks. She grasps Arthur's hand. Arthur, please. Marry me. Let me stay with you on Earth. I'll forsake my duties, my people. Everything. Arthur's throat constricts. The touch of her hand ignites a fire in his chest, threatening to consume years of diplomatic progress. He opens his mouth, but no words emerge. Commander Hayes intervenes. Arthur, think of the consequences. An interstellar incident. Nina's anguished cry cuts through the chaos as Romulan officers seize her arms. Arthur, don't let them take me. Captain Vartex's voice booms across the dome. This is an outrage. Commander Hayes, control your subordinate. Arthur stands frozen, torn between duty and desire. Nina's pleas fade as she's dragged from the dome, leaving behind a maelstrom of confusion and tension. Commander Hayes grips Arthur's shoulder. We need to finish packing. Now. As the crews rush to complete their tasks, the air thrums with unspoken questions. Arthur mechanically continues his work, his mind replaying Nina's words. The once triumphant conclusion of their groundbreaking mission now teeters on the brink of disaster, all because of a love that dared to cross the stars. Arthur's paralysis broke as Nina's cries faded into the distance. His heart pounded, mind blown from the sudden turn of events. He glanced at Commander Hayes, her stern expression a stark reminder of his duty. I need to finish this, he mumbled, turning back to his work with trembling hands. But as he reached for the next piece of equipment, a commotion erupted outside the dome. Shouts and the sound of running feet drew everyone's attention. What now? Commander Hayes muttered, moving swiftly towards the exit. Arthur followed, compelled by a force he couldn't name. As they emerged from the dome, chaos unfolded before them. Nina, her silver hair streaming behind her like a comet's tail, sprinted across the barren landscape of Novice Prime. She had broken free from her Romulan escorts, her live form easily outpacing them as she raced towards a human camp. Without conscious thought, Arthur's feet carried him forward. He ran, ignoring Commander Hayes' shouts, his eyes fixed on Nina's approaching figure. The alien terrain blurred beneath his feet as he covered the distance between them. They collided in an embrace, Nina's momentum nearly knocking them both to the ground. Arthur held her tightly, feeling her rapid heartbeat against his chest. "Nina," he breathed, cupping her face in his hands. Her eyes, dark as the depths of space, brimmed with tears and tenacity. "I won't leave you," she said fiercely. "I can't." The sound of approaching footsteps broke their moment. Captain Vartex's voice boomed across the plain, ordering his guards to apprehend Nina. Commander Hayes was mobilizing the human security team, creating a protective barrier around their camp. Arthur's mind raced. He knew he had to act fast to prevent the situation from escalating into an interstellar incident. Taking a deep breath, he raised his voice to be heard over the commotion. "I invoke Article 7 of the Interspecies Relationship Treaty." His words cut through the chaos like a phaser blast. Both Romulan and human personnel froze, staring at Arthur in disbelief. Captain Vartex's face contorted with rage. "You dare," he snarled, striding towards them. "Sub-Lieutenant Nina is a citizen of the Romulan Star Empire. Your human laws have no jurisdiction here." Commander Hayes stepped forward, her voice tense but controlled. "Captain, Article 7 is part of a mutually recognized treaty. It allows for political asylum in cases of genuine romantic attachment between species." "This is preposterous." Vartex spat. "I demand her immediate return. This is a clear violation of Romulan law and an affront to our people." As the argument intensified, a new voice cut through the fray. Dr. Zara, the ship's AI interface, spoke urgently through the comm systems of both camps. "Warning. Incoming solar storm detected. Estimated time of arrival, 15 minutes. All personnel must seek immediate shelter." The announcement sent a fresh wave of panic through the assembled crews. Commander Hayes took charge, her voice rising above the din. "Everyone, gather essential equipment and head for the cave systems. Move." The urgency of the situation temporarily overshadowed the conflict. Both human and Romulan teams scrambled to secure their most critical gear. Arthur and Nina worked side by side, quickly packing emergency supplies. As they rushed towards the caves, the sky darkened ominously. The wind picked up, carrying with it the acrid scent of ionized particles. Arthur gripped Nina's hand tightly as they navigated the rough terrain. They entered the cave system just as the storm's first electromagnetic pulses hit. Lights flickered and comm devices crackled with static. The ground shook and a deafening rumble filled the air. "The entrance!" someone shouted. Arthur turned just in time to see a cascade of rocks tumbling down, sealing off the cave's mouth. Dust billowed through the cavern, momentarily blinding everyone. When the air cleared, Arthur realized he and Nina had been separated from the main group. They stood alone in a small side chamber, connected to the larger cavern by a narrow passageway. "Are you all right?" he asked, brushing dust from Nina's face. She nodded, her eyes wide. "Arthur, what have we done?" The reality of their situation began to sink in. They were trapped in an alien cave system, cut off from their teams, with no way to communicate with the outside world. And when they did get out, they would face the consequences of their actions. Arthur pulled Nina close, feeling the warmth of her body against his. "We'll figure it out," he said softly. "Together." As the storm raged outside, human and Romulan crews huddled in uneasy proximity in the main cavern. Captain Vartex paced like a caged animal, while Commander Hayes attempted to restore some semblance of order. In their isolated chamber, Arthur and Nina sat side by side, their fingers intertwined. They had fought against duty, defied their superiors, and challenged the very foundations of interspecies relations. Now, as the howling wind echoed through the caves, they faced an uncertain future, trapped between two worlds, with only each other to hold on to. The cave's darkness enveloped Arthur and Nina, their ragged breaths echoing off the rocky walls. The distant rumble of the solar storm served as a grim reminder of their precarious situation. As they sat in silence, fingers intertwined, the air around them began to change. Nina noticed at first her Romulan physiology more attuned to subtle environmental shifts. She inhaled sharply, her grip on Arthur's hand tightening. "Arthur, something's wrong with the air." He frowned, taking a deep breath. The air felt thinner, lacking its usual richness. A chill ran down his spine as realization dawned. The atmospheric regulators must be malfunctioning. As if on cue, Dr. Zara's voice crackled through the emergency comm system, distorted but audible. "Warning, atmospheric regulators failing. Oxygen levels decreasing rapidly. Immediate action required." Arthur and Nina exchanged a look of drive. Without a word, they rose to their feet, ready to face this new challenge head-on. In the main cavern, panic spread like wildfire. Commander Hayes struggled to maintain order as Romulan and human crew members alike gasped for breath. Captain Vartex's face contorted with fury and fear. "This is your doing," he snarled at Hayes, his chest heaving. "A ploy to keep Nina here." Hayes stood her ground, fighting against the growing lightheadedness. "That's absurd, Captain. We're all in danger here." As tensions escalated, Arthur and Nina navigated the narrow passageway back to the main cavern. They arrived to find chaos unfolding before them. "Listen," Arthur shouted, his voice cutting through the din. "The regulators are failing. We need to fix them, or we'll all suffocate." Nina stepped forward, her silver hair glinting in the dim emergency lighting. "Arthur and I will go. My knowledge of xenobiology, combined with his expertise in astrophysics, gives us the best chance of success." Captain Vartex opened his mouth to protest, but a violent coughing fit silenced him. Commander Hayes nodded grimly. "Go. We'll do what we can to conserve oxygen here." With a final glance at their teams, Arthur and Nina plunged deeper into the cave system. The path twisted and turned, leading them through a maze of tunnels. Bioluminescent fungi clung to the walls, casting an eerie blue glow over their surroundings. As they pressed on, the cave floor became treacherous. Loose rocks skittered under their feet, threatening to send them tumbling into the darkness below. Nina's keen eyesight proved invaluable, guiding them safely across precarious ledges. Suddenly, a cluster of bioluminescent flora erupted in a burst of light and sound as they passed. Arthur stumbled back, shielding his eyes. Nina quickly pulled him away, her breath warm against his ear. "Defensive mechanism. We must be careful." Their journey continued, each obstacle reinforcing their reliance on one another. Arthur's scientific mind worked overtime, analyzing their surroundings and plotting the safest course. Nina's instincts and physical prowess kept them moving forward when the path seemed impassable. Finally, they reached a vast chamber deep within the planet's core. In its center stood an ancient structure, unmistakably the central control unit for the atmospheric regulators. As they approached, a holographic interface flickered to life, its alien symbols pulsing with an otherworldly light. Arthur studied the controls, his brow furrowed in concentration. "It's a dual-input system. We need to input the correct sequence simultaneously on opposite sides of the chamber." Nina nodded, moving to the far side of the room. Ready when you are. As they began to work, a wave of dizziness washed over Arthur. He blinked hard, trying to focus on the symbols before him. The radiation levels in the chamber were far higher than they had anticipated, and his human physiology was suffering the effects. Nina noticed a struggle from across the room. Arthur, are you all right? He gritted his teeth, forcing his trembling hands to continue their work. I'm fine. We have to finish this. But as the final sequence neared completion, Arthur's vision blurred. He swayed on his feet, his fingers slipping from the controls. In that moment, Nina made a decision that would change everything. Arthur, don't move, she called out. Closing her eyes, she focused her mind, drawing upon a hidden Romulan ability passed down through generations of her people. A surge of energy flowed from Nina to Arthur, invisible tendrils of life force bridging the gap between them. Arthur gasped as strength flooded his body, his mind clearing instantly. More than that, he felt Nina's presence within him, their thoughts and emotions intertwining in an intimate dance. With newfound vigor and perfect synchronization, they completed the input sequence. The chamber hummed to life, ancient machinery whirring beneath their feet. Slowly but surely, the air began to change, growing richer with each passing second. As the regulator stabilized, Arthur and Nina collapsed to the ground, exhausted but triumphant. The psychic link between them pulsed with shared relief and affection. They knew, without speaking a word, that their bond had been irrevocably altered. Supporting each other, they began the long journey back to the main cavern. The effects of radiation exposure and Nina's life force transfer left them weak and unsteady. Yet with each step, their connection grew stronger, a beacon of hope in the darkness of the cave. As they neared the entrance to the main chamber, they paused, the weight of their experience settling upon them. They had saved their teams, but at what cost? The political implications of their deepened bond loomed large, threatening to overshadow their victory. Arthur squeezed Nina's hand, drawing strength from her presence. Whatever happens, he said softly, we face it together. Nina nodded, her dark eyes shining with dedication. Always. With a deep breath, they stepped into the cavern, ready to face the consequences of their actions and the uncertain future that lay ahead. Ahead, the sound of shifting rocks caught their attention, and they turned to see the cave entrance slowly clearing. As the last boulder rolled away, revealing a sliver of alien sky, Arthur and Nina exchanged a look of relief tinged with apprehension. They stepped out into the open air, blinking against the harsh light of Novus Prime's twin suns. The landscape that greeted them was almost unrecognizable. Where once there had been rolling plains of violet grass, now jagged rock formations thrust up from the earth like the spine of some great beast. The solar storm had reshaped the planet's surface, carving new valleys and exposing long-buried ruins. Commander Hayes emerged from the cave, her face etched with concern. Status report, she barked into her communicator. The device crackled with static before Dr. Zar's voice cut through. Commander, I regret to inform you that both the human and Romulan vessels have sustained significant damage from the electromagnetic disturbances. Preliminary scans indicate repairs will take approximately 2 weeks to complete. Captain Vartex, who had been surveying the altered terrain with a scowl, whirled around at this news. 2 weeks? Impossible. We cannot be stranded on this wretched planet for so long. Hayes held up a hand, silencing the Romulans' protests. We don't have a choice, Captain. Our priority now is survival and repair. We'll need to work together. Vartex's eyes narrowed, flicking between Hayes and the still-linked hands of Arthur and Nina. After a tense moment, he gave a curt nod. Very well. A temporary truce, for the sake of our crews. But make no mistake, this changes nothing regarding our other disagreements. As the two leaders began organizing their teams, Arthur felt a gentle pressure in his mind. He turned to Nina, seeing his own mix of emotions reflected in her dark eyes. "They're going to separate us," Nina's voice whispered in his thoughts, the psychic link between them humming with shared anxiety. Before Arthur could respond, Vartex approached them. "Sub-Lieutenant Nina, you will assist the human team with your xenobiological expertise. Report to their science officer immediately." Nina opened her mouth to protest, but Arthur squeezed her hand, sending a wave of reassurance through their bond. "It's okay," he thought. "We'll find a way." Commander Hayes joined them, her expression unreadable. "Lieutenant Arthur, I'm assigning you to the Romulan team. They could use your knowledge of astrophysics to repair their propulsion systems." As they parted ways, Arthur felt the psychic tether between them stretching, but not breaking. Over the next few days, as the two teams set up camp and began repair efforts, Arthur and Nina found their connection growing stronger. They could communicate across vast distances, sharing not just thoughts but sensations and emotions. Their evolving bond did not go unnoticed. Dr. Lara, the Romulan chief medical officer, cornered Arthur one evening as he was calibrating a warp coil. "I've been observing you and Sub-Lieutenant Nina," she said, her voice low and intense. "Your connection. It's unlike anything I've ever seen between a human and a Romulan. I like to run some tests with your consent." Arthur hesitated, but Nina's voice floated through his mind. "We need to understand what's happening to us." "It's okay." He nodded, following Dr. Lara to her makeshift lab. Over the next few hours, she ran a battery of scans and tests, her eyebrows rising higher with each result. "Fascinating," she muttered, reviewing the data. "The life force transfer Nina performed in the caves. It's altering your DNA at a cellular level. Your genetic structure is slowly adapting to be more compatible with Romulan physiology." Arthur's mind reeled at the implications. Before he could fully process this information, an alarm blared across both camps. He rushed outside to find chaos unfolding. The ground beneath their feet trembled, and in the distance, a plume of noxious gas erupted from a fissure in the earth. Dr. Zar's voice cut through the commotion. "Warning. Planetary core instability detected. Volcanic activity imminent. Estimated time to critical mass, 72 hours. As the reality of their situation sank in, Arthur's eyes met Nina's across the camp. Their shared thought rang clear through the panic around them. "We need to find a way off this planet fast." The next hours were a blur of frantic activity. Both teams worked around the clock, pushing themselves to the limit to accelerate the repair process. Arthur and Nina found themselves at the center of the efforts, their unique ability to coordinate seamlessly proving invaluable. As they raced against time, Arthur couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The ruined structures around them seemed to whisper secrets just beyond his comprehension. He shared his unease with Nina through their link, and together they began to investigate the ancient civilization that once called Novice Prime home. What they discovered in those crumbling ruins would change everything, not just for them, but for the future of human-Romulan relations. As the planet's core grew more unstable with each passing hour, Arthur and Nina stood on the precipice of a monumental decision, one that would test the very limits of their newfound bond. As the planet's core grew more unstable with each passing hour, Arthur and Nina stood on the precipice of a monumental decision, one that would test the very limits of their newfound connection. "Arthur," Nina's voice resonated in his mind, "I think I've found something." He turned to see her crouched over a partially buried console, its alien symbols flickering weakly in the dim light. As he approached, the ground beneath their feet trembled, a stark reminder of the impending doom they faced. "It's an ancient planetary stabilization system," Nina explained, her fingers dancing over the alien interface. "If we can activate it, we might be able to save Novice Prime." Arthur's heart raced as he absorbed the implications. "We need to tell the others," he said, already moving towards the camp. The news of their discovery spread quickly, eliciting a mix of hope and apprehension among the crew members. Commander Hayes listened intently as Arthur and Nina laid out their plan, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's risky," she said finally, "but it might be our only chance." Captain Vartex, who had been pacing restlessly nearby, stopped abruptly. "You can't seriously be considering this, Commander," he protested. "We have no idea what this alien technology might do to us or to them." He gestured towards Arthur and Nina, his eyes narrowing suspiciously. "With all due respect, Captain," Arthur interjected, "we don't have time for alternatives. The core is becoming more unstable by the minute." A tense silence fell over the group, broken only by the ominous rumbling of the planet beneath them. Finally, Vartex gave a curt nod. "Very well. But if anything goes wrong, the consequences will be on your heads." As they prepared for the expedition, Arthur felt a surge of anxiety from Nina through their link. He reached out, both physically and mentally, offering reassurance. "We can do this," he said softly, squeezing her hand. The journey to the ancient facility was treacherous. Fissures opened up in the earth without warning, spewing toxic gases that forced the team to don protective gear. The landscape itself seemed to be working against them, with rock slides and sudden chasms appearing in their path. As they navigated the hazardous terrain, Arthur became acutely aware of changes in his own body. His muscles felt denser, his reflexes sharper. At one point, he caught a glimpse of his reflection in a pool of liquid metal and was startled to see a faint greenish tint to his skin. Nina noticed his distress and sent a wave of comfort through their bond. "It's the genetic changes Dr. Lara mentioned," she explained silently. "Your DNA is adapting to be more Romulan." Before Arthur could respond, a violent tremor shook the ground. He instinctively reached out, steadying Nina with strength that surprised even him. The rest of the team looked on in amazement as Arthur effortlessly lifted a fallen boulder, clearing their path. Finally, they reached the ancient facility. Its towering spires of crystalline material pulsed with a faint, otherworldly energy. Dr. Zara immediately set to work, interfacing her equipment with the alien technology. "Fascinating," she muttered, her eyes wide as she deciphered the alien script. "The system requires a unique genetic key to activate. It's almost as if it was designed for beings like you two." She looked up at Arthur and Nina, her expression a mix of awe and concern. As Arthur and Nina stepped forward to examine the activation chambers, a deafening crack split the air. The ground buckled beneath them, and a section of the facility's ceiling came crashing down. In the chaos, Captain Vartex was struck by a falling beam, pinned beneath the debris. Without hesitation, Arthur rushed to the Romulan's aid. With a surge of adrenaline and his newfound strength, he lifted the massive beam, freeing the trapped captain. Vartex looked up at Arthur, his eyes wide with a mixture of pain and grudging respect. "We need to hurry," Commander Hayes called out, helping Vartex to his feet. "The core's instability is accelerating." Arthur and Nina exchanged a determined look before stepping into separate activation chambers. As they submerged themselves in the glowing, gelatinous substance within, Arthur felt a moment of panic. Then Nina's presence filled his mind, calming and steadying him. The pain hit them both like a plasma storm. It felt as if every cell in their bodies was being torn apart and reassembled. Arthur gritted his teeth, fighting the urge to scream as the alien technology merged with his very being. Through their bond, he could feel Nina's agony mirroring his own. Outside the chambers, the facility hummed to life. Ancient machinery whirred and pulsed, sending waves of energy deep into the planet's core. Dr. Zar's voice cut through the din. "It's working. The stabilization process has begun, but it will take several hours to complete." As the hours crawled by, Arthur and Nina remained suspended in the chambers, their bodies illuminated by an eerie glow. The team watched in fascination and horror as their forms began to shift and change. Arthur's features became more angular, his ears taking on a distinctly pointed shape. Nina's silver hair darkened, and her skin lost some of its greenish hue. Commander Hayes paced anxiously, her communicator crackling with urgent messages from Earth's Central Command. The news of their actions had spread, causing political upheaval in both human and Romulan governments. Captain Vartex, his injuries treated but still in pain, watched the transformation process with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. The human's selfless act in saving him, combined with the couple's willingness to sacrifice themselves for the planet, was forcing him to reconsider his deeply held beliefs about humans. As the final hours of the stabilization process ticked by, tension in the facility reached a fever pitch. The planet's tremors had subsided, but Arthur and Nina showed no signs of emerging from their chambers. Dr. Zara's scans indicated that their genetic structure was continuing to change, becoming something entirely new, neither fully human nor Romulan. Just as the team's anxiety threatened to boil over, the facility's systems began to power down. The glow from the chambers dimmed, and with a hiss of escaping gases, the doors slowly opened. Steam billowed out, obscuring the forms within. The team held their breath as two figures emerged from the mist. As the air cleared, they got their first glimpse of Arthur and Nina's transformed state. Gasps of shock and wonder filled the room as the hybrid couple stood before them, their appearance a perfect blend of human and Romulan traits. Arthur and Nina reached for each other, their newly altered hands intertwining. Their eyes met, a silent communication passing between them. As the implications of their transformation began to sink in, they turned to face their stunned colleagues, ready to confront whatever challenges their new existence might bring. As the implications of their transformation began to sink in, they turned to face their stunned colleagues, ready to confront whatever challenges their new existence might present. The mist dissipated, revealing Arthur and Nina's transformed appearances in stark detail. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the assembled team as they took in the sight before them. Arthur's skin now bore a distinct greenish tint. His ears had taken on a subtle point, and his physique had become more muscular, reminiscent of a Romulan's build. Nina, in contrast, had lost her silver hair, replaced by rich brown locks. Her facial features had softened, taking on a more human-like appearance. Dr. Alara, the Romulan chief medical officer, sprang into action. She approached the couple with her medical tricorder, its lights blinking rapidly as she scanned their altered forms. Her eyes widened as she analyzed the results. "Incredible," she breathed. "Their genetic structure has stabilized into a perfect hybrid of human and Romulan DNA. I've never seen anything like this." Commander Hayes stepped forward, her communicator buzzing with incoming transmissions. "Earth's Central Command is demanding answers," she said, her voice tense. "They want Arthur quarantined and returned to Earth immediately for study." Captain Vartex, still favoring his injured side, frowned. "The Romulan High Command has similar orders regarding Sub-Lieutenant Nina. They're insisting we detain her for examination." Arthur and Nina exchanged a glance, their heightened psychic link allowing them to communicate without words. They could sense the fear and uncertainty radiating from their colleagues, as well as the potential danger they now faced. In a fluid motion that caught everyone off guard, Arthur and Nina moved in perfect synchronization. They darted past the stunned medical team, easily evading attempts to restrain them. Their newly enhanced physiology granted them speed and agility beyond what anyone had anticipated. "Stop them!" Commander Hayes shouted, but it was too late. Arthur and Nina sprinted out of the ancient facility, their movements perfectly coordinated. As they emerged into the harsh landscape of Novice Prime, they found themselves adapting to the environment with surprising ease. The toxic gases that had forced them to wear protective gear earlier now seemed less potent, their hybrid physiology granting them increased resilience. Behind them, they could hear the shouts and footfalls of both human and Romulan search parties. Arthur reached out, grasping Nina's hand as they navigated treacherous terrain. Fissures in the ground that would have posed significant obstacles before were now easily leapt across. Their enhanced senses allowed them to detect unstable areas before setting foot on them. As they ran, Arthur became acutely aware of their surroundings in a way he never had before. He could hear the subtle shift of rocks, feel minute changes in air pressure, and see details in the landscape that had previously been imperceptible. Nina's thoughts flowed into his mind, guiding him towards areas she sensed were safe. They crested a hill and paused briefly, surveying the alien terrain before them. In the distance, partially obscured by swirling mist, Nina spotted an anomaly in the rock face. "There," she said, pointing. "I sense something different about that area." They made their way towards the spot, their enhanced agility allowing them to traverse the treacherous landscape with ease. As they drew closer, they realized the anomaly was actually a concealed entrance to an underground complex. Arthur placed his hand on the rock face, feeling a faint vibration. With a gentle push, a hidden door slid open, revealing a dark passage leading into the planet's depths. They entered without hesitation, the door sealing behind them. The passageway lit up as they proceeded, responding to their presence. They found themselves in a vast chamber filled with alien technology far more advanced than anything they had encountered in the surface ruins. "It's some kind of vault," Arthur said, his eyes roaming over the rows of data crystals and holographic interfaces. Nina approached the central console, her fingers hovering over the controls. "This place. It feels like it was waiting for us." As they explored the hidden facility, they discovered vast archives of information about interspecies relationships and genetic compatibility. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing them visions of a long-extinct civilization that had once called Novice Prime home. Meanwhile, on the surface, an unlikely alliance was forming. Captain Vartex, still nursing his injuries, found himself working alongside Commander Hayes to coordinate the search efforts. "If we split our resources, we'll never find them," Hayes said, studying a topographical map of the area. Vartex nodded, a grudging respect in his eyes. "Agreed. We'll form joint search parties. My people know this terrain better, but your team has superior tracking technology." As the search parties fanned out across the planet's surface, Arthur and Nina delved deeper into the ancient knowledge stored within the hidden complex. They activated a central holographic interface, which coalesced into the image of a being unlike any they had ever seen. The hologram spoke, its voice resonating with ages of accumulated wisdom. "Welcome, children of stars. You who have bridged the gap between worlds. You are the fulfillment of our greatest hope." Arthur and Nina listened in awe as the hologram revealed the true purpose behind the ancient civilization's experiments in interspecies compatibility. They had been working towards a unified galactic community, using genetic hybridization as a means to overcome the biological barriers that kept different species apart. As the full implications of their transformation became clear, Arthur and Nina realized they stood at a crossroads of galactic history. Their very existence had the potential to reshape the relationship between humans and Romulans, and perhaps even beyond. Nina's eyes met Arthur's, a silent understanding passing between them. "We can't let this knowledge be buried or used as a weapon," she said aloud. Arthur nodded, his gaze shifting to a sophisticated communications array in the corner of the chamber. "Then we make sure everyone knows. Not just our teams, but Earth and the Romulan Empire, too." With newfound purpose, they set to work, preparing to broadcast their story and the ancient knowledge they had uncovered to both their homeworlds. As they worked, they could sense the search parties drawing closer to their location. The fate of their new existence, and potentially the future of interstellar relations, hung in the balance as they raced to complete their task before they were discovered. The air thrummed with tension, the ancient facility seeming to pulse with anticipation of the momentous events about to unfold. Unfold! Arthur's fingers flew across the ancient console, initiating the broadcast sequence. As the facility hummed with energy, Nina monitored the signal's strength, ensuring their message would reach both Earth and the Romulan Empire. "Transmission complete," Arthur announced, his voice tinged with a mixture of relief and apprehension. The response was almost immediate. The facility's sensors lit up with incoming transmissions from both human and Romulan sources. Arthur and Nina exchanged a glance, their heightened senses allowing them to process the influx of information at an astonishing rate. "Earth's government is dispatching a diplomatic team," Nina reported, her eyes scanning the incoming data. "Led by Ambassador Marcus Stern." Arthur nodded, his brow furrowing as he analyzed the Romulan response. "The Romulan High Command is sending their own delegation. Subcommander Tvex is heading the mission." As they processed this information, the facility's advanced detection systems alerted them to movement on the surface. Captain Vartex and Commander Hayes, along with a small team, were approaching their location. "They're coming," Arthur said, his newly enhanced hearing picking up the sound of footsteps echoing through the ancient corridors. Nina placed a hand on his arm, her touch sending a wave of calm through their shared psychic link. "We knew this moment would come. Let's face it together." The door to the main chamber slid open, revealing Captain Vartex and Commander Hayes. Their expressions were a mix of awe and uncertainty as they took in the sight of the transformed couple surrounded by holographic displays of genetic data and historical records. "Arthur, Nina," Commander Hayes began, her voice steady despite the tension in her posture. "We heard your broadcast." Captain Vartex stepped forward, his eyes darting between the hybrid couple and the advanced technology surrounding them. "You've put us in a complicated situation." Before either Arthur or Nina could respond, the facility's sensors flashed, indicating the arrival of the diplomatic ships in orbit. The atmosphere in the room shifted, the gravity of the situation weighing heavily on all present. Arthur's newly enhanced intellect quickly processed the implications. "The diplomats are here. We need to prepare." Nina nodded, her fingers already dancing across a nearby console. "I've found something. The ancient civilization left behind more than just this facility. There are others scattered across Novice Prime." As she spoke, a holographic map of the planet materialized in the center of the room, dotted with pulsing lights indicating the locations of hidden complexes. Captain Vartex and Commander Hayes exchanged glances, the potential value of this discovery not lost on them. "This changes everything," Commander Hayes murmured, her eyes fixed on the map. Outside the facility, the joint human-Romulan search party, now aware of the diplomatic team's imminent arrival, began establishing a secure perimeter. The sound of shuttles entering the atmosphere echoed across the barren landscape. Inside, Arthur and Nina worked in perfect synchronization, their hybrid physiology allowing them to interface directly with the ancient technology. Information flowed through their minds at an unprecedented rate as they compiled a comprehensive proposal for a joint human-Romulan exploration of Novice Prime. As they worked, Captain Vartex and Commander Hayes coordinated with their teams on the surface, ensuring a neutral zone was set up around the ancient complex. The spirit of cooperation that had begun to form between the human and Romulan crew members was palpable, inspired by the transformed couple before them. The facility's sensors alerted them to the approaching diplomats. Arthur and Nina shared a silent moment of understanding through their psychic link, steeling themselves for the crucial negotiation ahead. The main chamber's door slid open once more, revealing Ambassador Marcus Stern and Subcommander Tvex. The diplomats paused at the threshold, taking in the scene before them. Their eyes widened as they observed the seamless cooperation between the human and Romulan crew members, and then fixed on the transformed figures of Arthur and Nina. Ambassador Stern was the first to speak, his voice carrying the weight of years of diplomatic experience. "Arthur Thompson, Nina, I must admit, seeing you in person is quite different from the reports we received. Sub-Commander Tvek stepped forward, her piercing gaze analyzing every detail of the hybrid couple. Indeed, your transformation is most intriguing. Arthur and Nina exchanged a glance before addressing the diplomats. Ambassador Sub-Commander, Arthur began, his voice steady and clear. We understand the complexity of the situation we've created, but we believe we've discovered something that could change the course of human-Romulan relations. Nina gestured to the holographic displays surrounding them. This facility, and others like it across Novus Prime, contain knowledge and technology left behind by an ancient civilization. A civilization that sought to unite different species through genetic compatibility. The diplomats' expressions shifted from skepticism to interest as Arthur and Nina began to present their proposal for a joint exploration mission. The hybrid couple moved in perfect synchronization, their enhanced intellects allowing them to articulate complex ideas with remarkable clarity. As they spoke, the ancient facilities seemed to come alive around them, holographic displays shifting to illustrate their points. The potential benefits of their proposal became increasingly clear: technological advancements, medical breakthroughs, and a foundation for lasting cooperation between humans and Romulans. Ambassador Stern and Sub-Commander Tvek listened intently, occasionally exchanging glances that betrayed their growing interest. The atmosphere in the room was charged with possibility, the future of two great civilizations hanging in the balance. As Arthur and Nina concluded their presentation, a moment of silence fell over the chamber. The diplomats' eyes met, a silent communication passing between them. The next few moments would be crucial, setting the stage for negotiations that could reshape the galaxy. Ambassador Stern cleared his throat, breaking the silence. You've given us much to consider, he began, his tone measured. This proposal is unprecedented in its scope and potential impact. Sub-Commander Tvek nodded in agreement, her expression thoughtful. Indeed, the possibilities presented here are intriguing. However, there are many factors to consider, not least of which is the security implications for both our peoples. Arthur stepped forward, his hybrid features accentuated in the soft glow of the holographic displays. We understand your concerns, and we're prepared to address them. What we're proposing isn't just about scientific discovery or technological advancement. It's about building a foundation for lasting peace and cooperation between our species. Nina joined him, her presence radiating calm assurance. We stand before you as living proof that our differences can be bridged. Let us use this opportunity to create something truly extraordinary. The diplomats exchanged another glance, the weight of the decision before them evident in their expressions. The future of human-Romulan relations hung in the balance, with the potential for either a new era of cooperation or a deepening of old rivalries. As the negotiations began in earnest, the ancient facility hummed with energy, as if sensing the historic nature of the moment. Outside, on the harsh surface of Novus Prime, human and Romulan crew members continued to work side by side, unaware that their actions mirrored the very future being discussed within the hidden complex. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in centuries, there was a glimmer of hope for true understanding between two long-estranged civilizations. And at the center of it all stood Arthur and Nina, their transformed bodies a testament to the potential for unity and diversity. Diversity in the cosmos. As the negotiations began, the ancient facility seemed to pulse with renewed energy, its systems responding to the presence of Arthur and Nina's hybrid DNA. Arthur stepped forward, his voice steady as he addressed the diplomats. Ambassador Stern, Sub-Commander Tvek, we've prepared a detailed proposal for a joint human-Romulan exploration of Novus Prime. Nina joined him, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface. If you'll allow us, we can demonstrate the potential benefits of this collaboration. As the hybrid couple began their presentation, The diplomats' initial skepticism gradually gave way to cautious interest. Arthur and Nina moved in perfect synchronization, their enhanced intellects allowing them to process and present complex data with remarkable clarity. Midway through their proposal, an unexpected tremor shook the facility. The ancient system sprang to life, holographic displays flickering and rearranging themselves. "What's happening?" Ambassador Stern demanded, his hand instinctively reaching for a communicator. Subcommander Tvex's eyes narrowed as she scanned the room. "Is this part of your presentation?" Arthur and Nina exchanged a quick glance, their psychic link buzzing with shared confusion and excitement. "No," Arthur replied, his fingers flying across the nearest console. "The facility's detecting something. A hidden chamber deep beneath us." The room fell silent as a new holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy slowly rotated, with pulsing points of light scattered across its expanse. Nina's eyes widened as she interpreted the data streaming across the display. These points, they're other facilities, a network spanning the entire galaxy. The implications of this discovery hit the room like a shockwave. Ambassador Stern and Subcommander Tvex stepped closer to the display, their expressions a mix of awe and calculation. "This changes everything," Stern murmured, his eyes darting between the map and the hybrid couple. Tvex nodded, her voice tight with hardly restrained excitement. "The scientific potential alone is staggering, not to mention the strategic implications." As the diplomats began to discuss the ramifications of this new information, Arthur and Nina found themselves at the center of a rapidly evolving situation. Their ability to interface directly with the alien technology proved invaluable, allowing them to provide real-time data and projections that fueled the negotiations. Outside the facility, the joint human-Romulan security team faced a new challenge. The activation of the deep chamber triggered a series of geological disturbances across Novus Prime. Captain Vartex's voice crackled over the comm system. "We're detecting massive seismic activity across the planet," he reported. "Sinkholes are forming, revealing some kind of underground network." Commander Hayes' voice joined the transmission. "We need to evacuate the outlying research teams immediately. The ground's becoming too unstable." As the security team scrambled to respond to the crisis, the negotiations inside the facility intensified. The discovery of the galactic network had raised the stakes exponentially, with both sides recognizing the potential for groundbreaking advancements and the risks of such power falling into the wrong hands. Arthur and Nina found themselves navigating a delicate balance, their unique perspective as hybrids proving crucial in bridging the ideological gaps between humans and Romulans. "We understand the desire to claim this discovery for your respective governments," Nina said, her voice calm but firm. "But the scale of this network suggests it was meant for something greater than any single species." Arthur nodded, adding, "Our transformation wasn't an accident. It was a key designed to unlock this knowledge. We believe it's meant to be shared." As the debate continued, the facility's systems suddenly surged with activity. The holographic galactic map expanded, revealing a final message from the long-extinct civilization. Ancient symbols flashed across the displays, rapidly translated by the facility's advanced algorithms. "A warning," Arthur breathed, his enhanced mind racing to process the information. The hybrid program, the facility network, it was all created in response to some kind of galactic threat. Nina's face paled as she absorbed the implications. A threat that might still be out there, waiting. The room fell silent as the weight of this revelation settled over them. Ambassador Stern and Subcommander Tvex exchanged a long look, years of diplomatic experience conveying volumes in a single glance. Stern was the first to break the silence. "It seems we have little choice but to cooperate. The potential risks to both our peoples, to the entire galaxy, are too great to ignore." Tvex nodded, her posture straightening as she made her decision. Agreed. We must form a joint task force immediately to investigate this network and assess the nature of the threat. As the diplomats began to hash out the details of their unprecedented accord, Arthur and Nina found themselves thrust into the center of this developing crisis. Their hybrid nature, once a source of uncertainty, was now seen as a crucial asset in understanding and confronting the ancient threat. The facility's communication systems chimed, signaling an incoming transmission from the surface. Commander Hayes' voice filled the chamber, tense but controlled. We've managed to evacuate all research teams, but the planet's becoming increasingly unstable. We need to consider a full withdrawal. Ambassador Stern nodded grimly. Understood, Commander. Prepare for immediate evacuation. We'll be returning to the ship shortly to formalize our agreement. As the diplomatic teams prepared to depart, Arthur and Nina stood at the heart of the ancient facility, the weight of their new responsibilities settling upon them. They were no longer just explorers or scientific curiosities. They had become the key to unraveling a mystery that spanned millennia and threatened the entire galaxy. The couple shared a silent moment of understanding through their psychic link. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, as bridges between two species and perhaps as the guardians of the galaxy's future. As they made their way to the surface, the ancient facility powered down behind them, its secrets once again hidden beneath the shifting sands of Novice Prime. But the knowledge they had gained and the warning they had received would shape the course of human and Romulan history for generations to come. As they made their way to the surface, the ancient facility powered down behind them, its secrets once again hidden beneath the shifting sands of Novice Prime. But the knowledge they had gained and the warning they had received would shape the course of human and Romulan history for generations to come. The evacuation proceeded swiftly, with teams of scientists and security personnel boarding shuttles bound for their respective ships in orbit. However, as Arthur and Nina prepared to depart for their scheduled medical examinations on Earth and Romulus, an urgent transmission from Dr. Lara, the Romulan chief medical officer, halted their plans. Ambassador Stern, Sub-Commander Tvex. Dr. Alara's voice crackled over the comm system, her tone a mixture of excitement and trepidation. We've made an extraordinary discovery in one of the newly uncovered underground facilities. You need to see this immediately. Without hesitation, the diplomatic teams, along with Arthur and Nina, redirected their course to the location Dr. Lara had specified. As they entered the subterranean chamber, they were greeted by the sight of Dr. Lara and her human counterpart, Dr. James Green, standing before a gleaming metallic pod. It's a stasis chamber, Dr. Green explained, his eyes wide with wonder, and it contains a living being. Before anyone could respond, the pod began to hum with energy. The team watched in awe as the chamber opened, revealing its occupant, a female humanoid with iridescent skin and bioluminescent markings that pulsed with a soft, otherworldly glow. The alien's eyes fluttered open, taking in her surroundings with a mix of curiosity and caution. She spoke, her voice melodious and filled with ancient wisdom. I am Zaravex, lead scientist of the Luminari. I was placed in stasis as a failsafe, to guide those who would come after us. Arthur and Nina stepped forward, their hybrid physiology resonating with Zaravex's presence. We are Arthur and Nina, Arthur began, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. We've discovered your civilization's warning about a galactic threat. Zaravex nodded solemnly. The threat remains, dormant but ever present. Your hybrid nature, she gestured to Arthur and Nina, is the key to unlocking the knowledge and power needed to face it. As Zaravex shared more about her people and the looming danger, the ground beneath them trembled. Captain Vartex's voice cut through the air. The planet's becoming increasingly unstable. We need to evacuate immediately. Arthur turned to Ambassador Stern and Sub-Commander Tvex, his expression resolute. We can't leave yet. The answers we need are here, in the primary underground complex. Zarvex can guide us. Nina nodded in agreement. This might be our only chance to understand and neutralize the threat before it's too late. The diplomats exchanged glances, weighing the risks against the potential benefits. Finally, Subcommander Tvek spoke. We will accompany you. The fate of both our peoples may depend on what we discover here. Quickly, a team was assembled. Arthur, Nina, Zarvex, Captain Vartex, Commander Hayes, and a select group of human and Romulan scientists and security personnel prepared to descend into the vast underground network. As they entered the ancient complex, they were immediately confronted with a series of challenges. Holographic barriers flickered to life, presenting puzzles that required input from multiple species to solve. Arthur and Nina found their hybrid nature invaluable, able to interface with both human and Romulan technology while also connecting to the ancient systems. These trials, Zarvex explained as they navigated a particularly complex energy maze, were designed to test the cooperation and problem-solving abilities of different species. Only through unity can the true power of this facility be unlocked. As they progressed deeper, Zarvex revealed more about the nature of the galactic threat. They came from beyond the galactic rim, she said, her luminescent markings pulsing with intensity. A hive-minded species with technology far beyond anything we had encountered. Our hybrid program was our last hope, a way to create beings capable of unifying the galaxy's diverse species against this common enemy. Suddenly, the facility around them hummed to life. Holographic displays flickered into existence, showing a map of the galaxy with pulsing points of light scattered across its expanse. We've activated more of the ancient technology, Nina realized, her enhanced mind quickly processing the data. It's sending out a signal that can be detected across the galaxy. Arthur's eyes widened as he understood the implications. We've just announced our presence to anyone listening, including the very threat we're preparing to face. As if in response to their realization, the complex shuddered violently. Commander Hayes' voice crackled over the comm system. Multiple ships are appearing in orbit, designs we've never seen before. They're hailing us in languages our translators can't decipher. The team pressed on, racing against time and the growing instability of the planet. Finally, they reached the central chamber, where a massive quantum computer pulsed with ethereal energy. This is it, Zarvex breathed, her eyes reflecting the computer's glow. The collective knowledge and technology of my people. With this, we can stand against the coming storm. Arthur and Nina approached the computer, their hybrid DNA resonating with its systems. As they interfaced with it, the final safeguards fell away, granting them access to the full database and control over the planet's network of facilities. But their victory was short-lived. The power surge caused by the computer's full activation sent shockwaves through the planet's core. The ground beneath their feet bucked and heaved, and distant explosions echoed through the complex. The planet's tearing itself apart. Captain Vartex shouted over the din. We need to evacuate now. As chaos erupted around them, Arthur and Nina shared a look of understanding. They knew what had to be done. We can transfer the data, Arthur said, his voice steady despite the danger. Into our minds. Nina nodded, her expression mirroring his perseverance. It's the only way to preserve the knowledge, to save all of the universe. Before anyone could protest, they initiated the transfer process. Energy crackled around them as the vast database began to pour into their hybrid brains. Their bodies glowed with an otherworldly light, suspended in a trance-like state as the transfer continued. The rest of the team scrambled to stabilize the facility and prepare for emergency evacuation. In orbit, the first ships of other alien races began to arrive, drawn by the ancient signal. As Arthur and Nina hovered in their energetic cocoon, the fate of the galactic realm hanging in the balance, the true scope of their journey began to unfold. The hybrid program had created them for this moment, but Whether they would emerge from it with the power to rescue the star systems, or be consumed by the vast knowledge they sought to contain remained to be seen. The ground beneath them lurched violently, nearly knocking them off their feet. Warning klaxons blared throughout the complex, their urgent wails echoing off the ancient walls. "The transfer's complete," Arthur gasped, his voice strained as he struggled to remain conscious. Beside him, Nina swayed unsteadily, her eyes unfocused and glowing with an otherworldly light. Dr. Alara rushed forward, her medical tricorder already scanning their vital signs. "Their neural patterns are wildly erratic," she shouted over the din of the collapsing facility. "We need to stabilize them immediately." Captain Vartex's voice cut through the chaos. "All personnel, prepare for emergency evacuation. This entire complex is coming down around us." As if to emphasize this point, a massive tremor shook the chamber, sending debris raining down from the ceiling. Commander Hayes was already coordinating with the ships in orbit, his voice steady despite the urgency of the situation. "Extraction point Alpha is compromised," he reported, rerouting to secondary locations. "All teams move out now." The expedition members scrambled towards the exit, Dr. Green and Dr. Alara supporting the barely conscious Arthur and Nina. Zarovex moved with fluid grace, her bioluminescent markings pulsing rapidly as she assessed the situation. "Their hybrid physiology is struggling to contain the data influx," she observed, her melodious voice tinged with concern. "I can help stabilize them during transport." Without waiting for a response, Zarovex placed her hands on Arthur and Nina's foreheads. Her markings flared brightly, and the hybrid couple's erratic movements calmed slightly. As they reached the surface, the full extent of Novice Prime's destabilization became apparent. The horizon was lit by the angry glow of volcanic eruptions, and fissures snaked across the landscape, belching noxious gases and molten rock. In the sky above, a dazzling array of ships hung in orbit. Among them were the familiar silhouettes of human and Romulan vessels, but they were joined by dozens of alien craft of varying designs and sizes. "The signal," Nina murmured, her eyes flickering open for a moment. "They've come." Before anyone could respond, the ground beneath them gave a final violent heave. Commander Hayes shouted into his communicator, "Initiate emergency beam out now." The air around them shimmered as the transporter effect took hold. For a moment, it seemed as though they would make it off the dying planet intact. But as their forms began to dematerialize, a massive energy surge from the planet's core interfered with the beam. Arthur and Nina's partially dematerialized forms wavered and then vanished completely, separate from the rest of the group. As the expedition team rematerialized on their respective ships, Dr. Alara's panicked voice cut through the confusion. "Arthur and Nina aren't here. Something's gone wrong with the transport." Aboard the bridge of the Romulan vessel, Sub-Commander Tvek's whirled to face her science officer. "Scan for their biosignatures immediately." Similar scenes played out on the human ships as frantic efforts to locate the missing hybrid couple began. But before a thorough search could be conducted, Novice Prime gave its final death knell. The planet's surface cracked open like an eggshell, revealing its molten core. In a blinding flash of light and energy, Novice Prime exploded, sending a massive shockwave hurtling through space. "Brace for impact," Captain Vartex shouted, gripping his command chair as the wave approached. The shockwave slammed into the assembled fleet with brutal force. Ships tumbled end over end, their crews thrown about like rag dolls. When the chaos finally subsided, every vessel in the vicinity found their propulsion systems completely disabled. As the fleet drifted helplessly in the debris field that was once Novice Prime, a transmission cut through the silence. The image of an alien being appeared on the interfaces of both human and Romulan ships. Her skin was a pale lavender, with intricate patterns swirling across her features. "This is Captain Lyra of the Arcturian Confederation," she announced, her voice calm but authoritative. "We have recovered 2 individuals from your expedition during the planetary explosion. They are alive but in critical condition. We offer our advanced medical facilities to stabilize them." Ambassador Stern and Subcommander Tvex exchanged wary glances. The presence of a neutral third party complicated an already volatile situation. "We appreciate your assistance, Captain Lyra," Stern replied cautiously. "However, those individuals are crucial to both our peoples. We must insist on their immediate return." Lyra's expression remained impassive. "I understand your concern, Ambassador, but I assure you our medical facilities are best equipped to handle their unique physiology. Dr. Zan, our lead xenobiologist, is already working to ensure their survival." As if on cue, a masked figure appeared beside Captain Lyra. "The patients are stable for now," Dr. Zan reported, "but their condition is unlike anything I've ever seen. Their bodies appear to be undergoing further mutations as they assimilate some kind of data." Zaravex, who had been quietly observing the exchange, stepped forward. "The knowledge they absorbed," she explained, her luminescent markings pulsing with urgency. "It contains information vital to the survival of all our peoples, including the location of ancient outposts spread throughout the galaxy." The revelation sent a ripple of tension through the assembled leaders. The potential of such knowledge was staggering, but so too were the risks of it falling into the wrong hands. As the diplomatic standoff intensified, aboard the Arcturian vessel, Arthur and Nina lay unconscious in the medical bay. Their bodies pulsed with an ethereal glow, their very cells restructuring to accommodate the vast influx of ancient knowledge. Doctors then monitored their readings with growing fascination. "Remarkable," he muttered. "Their hybrid physiology isn't just stabilizing, it's enhancing their ability to process this information." In the depths of their shared unconsciousness, Arthur and Nina's minds raced through millennia of history and technology. Star maps, weapon schematics, and a collective knowledge of a long-lost civilization flowed through their synapses. And deep within that torrent of information, a warning pulsed like a dying star. The extragalactic threat was coming. The clock was ticking for the entire galaxy. As arguments raged between the assembled fleet and the Arcturian ship, Arthur and Nina's eyelids began to flutter. The moment of their awakening approached, promising to alter the balance of power in ways no one could predict. The fate of billions hung in the balance as the hybrid couple stirred, their minds now holding the key to the galaxy's survival. Around them, the leaders of countless worlds waited with nervous excitement, each hoping to be the first to access the ancient knowledge that could reshape civilization itself. As the leaders of countless worlds waited with breathless expectation, Arthur and Nina's eyelids fluttered open. A soft, pulsating glow emanated from their bodies, casting an ethereal light throughout the Arcturian medical bay. Dr. Zen leaned forward, his masked face betraying a mixture of fascination and concern as he studied the readings on his advanced medical tricorder. "Remarkable," he murmured, adjusting the settings to capture more data. "Their vital signs have stabilized, but their genetic structure, it's evolving at an unprecedented rate." Captain Lyra wasted no time in relaying the news to the assembled fleet. "Attention all vessels," she announced, her calm voice belying the gravity of the situation. "The hybrid individuals have regained consciousness." The response was immediate. Aboard the human flagship, Ambassador Stern's eyes narrowed. "We must speak with them at once," he demanded, his voice tight with urgency. "The potential military applications of this knowledge cannot fall into the wrong hands." Subcommander Tvex, her face appearing on a nearby view screen, nodded in agreement. "For once, we are in accord, Ambassador. The Romulan Star Empire insists on immediate access to these individuals." As the diplomatic tensions rose, Arthur and Nina were becoming acutely aware of their surroundings. Their eyes, now glowing with an inner light, darted around the medical bay, taking in every detail with newfound clarity. Without a word, They reached out simultaneously, their fingers splaying across the nearest console. The Arcturian ship systems came alive, displays flickering and changing as Arthur and Nina interfaced directly with the alien technology. Lines of code and complex schematics flashed across the screens at dizzying speeds. Captain Lyra burst into the medical bay, her lavender skin paling as she witnessed the scene before her. "How are they doing this?" she demanded, turning to Dr. Zan. The xenobiologist shook his head, clearly at a loss. Their brains appear to be processing information at an exponential rate. They've already assimilated our language, our technology. I've never seen anything like it. Arthur turned to face the Arcturian captain, his voice resonating with a new depth of understanding. "Captain Lyra, we mean you no harm. But we must speak with the leaders of all assembled ships immediately." Nina nodded, her eyes fixed on a distant point, as if seeing beyond the confines of the room. Time is of the essence. The threat approaches faster than anyone realized. On board the human ship, Dr. Alara and Dr. Green huddled around a holographic display with Zarvex. The ancient scientist's bioluminescent markings pulsed rapidly as she pointed to a series of anomalies at the edge of the projected Milky Way. "These disturbances," Zarvex explained, her voice tight with urgency, "they match our records of the invaders' approach. The extragalactic threat is no longer a distant possibility. It's here." Dr. Green's face paled. "We need to inform the others immediately." Before they could act, every screen and communication device across the assembled fleet crackled to life. Arthur and Nina's faces appeared, their features serene yet tinged with an otherworldly quality. "Leaders of Earth, Romulus, and all assembled worlds," Arthur began, his voice carrying an authority that silenced all other chatter. "We come to you with knowledge vital to the survival of our galaxy." Nina continued seamlessly. The ancient civilization left behind a network of defensive outposts and advanced technology capable of repelling the invasion. We now possess the locations and blueprints for these defenses. A collective gasp rippled through the fleet. Ambassador Stern leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with barely concealed ambition. "This is excellent news. We must begin implementing these defenses immediately." "There is more," Arthur interjected, his tone grave. "The ancient technology was designed with a failsafe. It will only respond to beings with hybrid DNA, a mixture of multiple species." The implications of this statement hit like a shockwave. Sub-Commander Tvex's voice cut through the stunned silence. "Are you suggesting that we must intermingle our species to access this technology?" Nina nodded solemnly. "Cooperation on an unprecedented scale will be required. The survival of all our peoples depends on it." As the weight of this revelation settled over the assembled leaders, Arthur and Nina shared a look of understanding. Without a word, they reached out with their minds, tapping into the vast network of ancient technology that lay dormant throughout the galaxy. Satellites long hidden in the shadows of distant stars hummed to life, broadcasting a message that would forever change the course of galactic history. Across countless worlds, beings of all species looked to the skies as the truth of their shared peril, and the key to their salvation was revealed. In the Arcturian medical bay, Arthur and Nina's forms began to shimmer, their bodies occasionally phasing into one another as if they were becoming a single entity. Dr. Zan watched in awe, his scientific mind racing to comprehend the implications of this transformation. As the boundaries between them blurred, Arthur and Nina's voices merged into one. "We stand at a crossroads," they declared, their words echoing across the stars. "The path forward requires us to transcend our differences and forge a new future together. The question now is, are we ready to take that leap?" The galaxy held its breath, poised on the brink of a new era. The extragalactic threat loomed ever closer, but so too did the possibility of an alliance unlike any seen before. As ships from distant worlds began to arrive, Drawn by the ancient signal, the stage was set for a conflict that would determine the fate of all known life. Arthur and Nina, their transformation continuing and their power growing, stood at the center of this galactic upheaval. They held the key to survival, but unlocking it would require sacrifices and changes that would reshape civilization itself. The true test was just beginning. The galaxy held its breath, poised on the brink of a new era. The extragalactic threat loomed ever closer, but so too did the possibility of an alliance unlike any seen before. As the implications of Arthur and Nina's revelation reverberated through the assembled fleet, Captain Lyra's voice cut through the chaos. "We need a neutral ground to coordinate our efforts," she declared, her lavender features set with dedication. "I propose we construct a temporary space station using modular components from our ships." The idea spread rapidly, finding support among the diverse array of species now gathered around the remnants of Novice Prime. Within hours, vessels from a dozen worlds dispatched engineering teams and materials. The station, quickly dubbed Unity Hub, began to take shape and orbit around the shattered planet. Arthur and Nina watched the construction from the viewport of the Arturian Medical Bay, their forms shimmering as they phased in and out of each other. Dr. Zen hovered nearby, his masked face tilted in fascination as he recorded every fluctuation in their physiology. "Fascinating," he murmured, adjusting his instruments. "Your cellular structure is stabilizing into something entirely new. The rate of change is unprecedented." As if in response to his words, Arthur reached out towards a nearby console. Energy crackled between his fingers and the display, causing it to flicker and change without physical contact. Nina's eyes widened as she realized she could sense the ship's systems humming around them, as if they were extensions of her own body. "Dr. Zan," she said, her voice resonating with newfound power, "I believe we're developing the ability to interface directly with technology." Before the xenobiologist could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Captain Lyra's voice echoed over the intercom, tight with urgency. "All hands, report to stations. Long-range sensors have detected an unknown vessel entering the galaxy." Arthur and Nina shared a look of grim understanding. "The scout ship," they said in unison, their voices overlapping in an otherworldly harmony. Within moments, the medical bay was a flurry of activity as representatives from various species crowded in, demanding answers. Ambassador Stern pushed his way to the front, his face flushed with a mixture of fear and excitement. "You said you knew the locations of the defensive outposts," he said, addressing Arthur and Nina. "We need those coordinates now." Nina nodded, her form briefly merging with Arthur's before stabilizing. "We can do better than that," she said. "We can lead you there." Despite protests from several leaders about the risk of exposing the hybrids to danger, a joint task force was quickly assembled. Ships from the human, Romulan, and Arcturian fleets formed the core of the group, with vessels from other allied species joining as they arrived at Unity Hub. As the task force prepared to depart, Arthur and Nina boarded Captain Lyra's ship under heavy guard. Their bodies pulsed with energy, occasionally phasing into a single, luminous form that left the crew in awe. The journey to the defensive outpost was tense, with every crew member acutely aware of the cosmic stakes. Arthur and Nina spent much of the time in deep meditation, their merged form allowing them to process vast amounts of the ancient knowledge stored in their minds. As they approached the designated star system, Dr. Zan's voice came over the intercom. "Captains, you need to see this. The hybrids, they've completely merged." On the bridge, all eyes turned to the view screen. Where Arthur and Nina had stood, a being of pure energy now hovered, its form rippling with patterns of light that mirrored the structure of the universe itself. The being spoke, its voice resonating to the minds of everyone present. "We see the outpost. It orbits the neutron star ahead. We can reactivate its systems." As the task force entered the system, The massive ring-shaped structure of the outpost came into view. It dwarfed their ships, a testament to the advanced technology of the ancient civilization that built it. The merged form of Arthur and Nina directed the Arcturian ship to dock with the outpost. As they connected, the hybrid being flowed through the ship's systems and into the ancient structure. Lights flickered to life across its surface, and massive weapon arrays began to power up. Just as the outpost hummed to full power, space itself seemed to tear open at the edge of the system. The scout ship of the extragalactic invaders emerged, its organic form pulsing with an alien energy that sent shivers through the Allied fleet. All ships, battle stations. Captain Lyra's voice rang out. Prepare to engage the enemy. The invader vessel struck first, lashing out with weapons that defied conventional understanding. Several Allied ships were hit, their shields buckling under the assault. But then the outpost responded, beams of energy more powerful than anything the Allied species had ever witnessed lanced out, enveloping the scout ship in a cage of light. The invader's organic hull writhed and buckled under the assault. Within the outpost, the merged form of Arthur and Nina directed the ancient defenses with precise, calculated movements. Their consciousness expanded through the station's systems, coordinating the Allied fleet's movements with the outpost's weapons. The battle was brief but intense. The scout ship's advanced capabilities initially overwhelmed several Allied vessels, but the combined firepower of the fleet and the reactivated outpost ultimately prevailed. In a final desperate act, the invader ship transmitted a signal towards its home galaxy before exploding in a burst of otherworldly energy. As the debris of the scout ship scattered across the system, Arthur and Nina separated back into their individual forms, their bodies trembling with exertion. They shared a look of profound understanding, aware that this was only the beginning of a conflict that would reshape the galaxy. Captain Lyra approached them, her expression a mixture of awe and concern. "What you've done here is remarkable," she said. "But that signal. The invasion force knows we're here now. What's our next move?" Arthur turned to her, his eyes still glowing with residual energy from the merge. "We've only scratched the surface of what the ancient civilization left behind," he said. "There's more to discover, more outposts to activate." Nina nodded in agreement. "And we need to start preparing the galaxy for what's coming. The hybridization program. It's not just about accessing the technology. It's about evolving to face this threat." As the task force began preparations to return to Unity Hub, Arthur and Nina stood at the viewport, watching the neutron star's pulsations. The weight of their responsibility settled over them, a mantle they now understood they were uniquely equipped to bear. The journey back would be filled with planning and preparation, but for now, they allowed themselves a moment of quiet reflection. The galaxy was changing, and they were at the heart of that change. Whatever came next, they would face it together, as something more than human, more than any single species, as the bridge between the past and the future of all life in the cosmos. The journey back to Unity Hub was filled with a mixture of triumph and trepidation. As the task force's ships entered the station's docking bays, Arthur and Nina stood side by side, their forms occasionally shimmering with residual energy from their recent merge. Captain Lyra approached them as they disembarked. "The Alliance leaders are assembling for an emergency briefing. They're eager to hear about our encounter with the scout ship and the ancient outpost." Arthur nodded, his eyes still glowing faintly. "We're ready. There's much to discuss." As they made their way through Unity Hub's corridors, the station buzzed with activity. News of their victory had spread quickly, and crew members from various species paused to stare at the hybrid couple as they passed. The briefing room was packed with representatives from across the galaxy. Ambassador Stern sat at the head of the table, his face a mask of barely held back excitement. As Arthur and Nina entered, all eyes turned to them. "Please," Stern said, gesturing to two empty seats. "Tell us everything." For the next hour, Arthur and Nina recounted their experience at the ancient outpost and the battle with the scout ship. as they spoke. Their voices occasionally overlapped, creating an otherworldly harmony that left the assembled leaders in awe. The outpost's defensive capabilities far exceed anything we currently possess, Nina explained, her eyes distant as she recalled the merged consciousness they had shared with the ancient systems. But it's only one piece of a much larger network. Arthur continued, we've discovered that similar defensive systems exist in other galaxies. The threat we face, it's intergalactic in nature. A murmur of shock rippled through the room. Sub-Commander Trex leaned forward, her green skin pale with concern. Are you saying these invaders have conquered other galaxies? Not conquered, Nina clarified, but they've attempted invasions before. The ancient civilization that built these defenses, they fought this enemy across multiple galaxies. The implications of this revelation settled heavily over the assembly. Captain Lyra was the first to break the silence. We need to reassess our entire strategy. This is bigger than just defending our galaxy. Ambassador Stern nodded in agreement. We'll need to form specialized teams to study this new information and its implications. Dr. Zan, he said, turning to the Arcturian xenobiologist, I want you to lead a research initiative focused on Arthur and Nina's unique physiology. See if we can replicate their hybrid DNA in other volunteers. Dr. Zan's masked face tilted in consideration. I'll need additional resources and personnel. Perhaps Dr. Alara from the Romulan delegation? Her expertise in genetic engineering could be invaluable. As the Alliance leaders continued to discuss strategies and allocate resources, Arthur and Nina found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of activity. Over the next few days, they were subjected to a battery of tests and examinations as Dr. Zan and Dr. Alara worked to unravel the mysteries of their evolving physiology. The constant scrutiny began to wear on them. One evening, as they lay in their quarters aboard the Arcturian ship, Nina turned to Arthur with a sigh. I feel like a lab specimen, she said, her voice tinged with frustration. Every time we turn around, there's another test, another scan. Arthur reached out, taking her hand in his. As their fingers intertwined, a familiar energy pulsed between them. I know, he said softly, but we have to remember what's at stake. The knowledge we carry. It could be the key to saving not just our galaxy, but countless others. Nina nodded, squeezing his hand. You're right. It's just... Sometimes I miss when it was just us exploring the ruins on Novice Prime. Before Arthur could respond, an alert chimed on their communication panel. Captain Lyra's voice filled the room. Arthur, Nina, we need you in the command center immediately. We've received reports from one of our expeditions to an ancient outpost. They've encountered an advanced force of the invaders. The couple shared a look of stubborn persistence before hurrying to the command center. As they entered, they found the room in chaos. Holographic displays showed a fierce battle unfolding in a distant star system. The expedition was ambushed as they approached the outpost, Lyra explained, her face tight with concern. They're outgunned and outnumbered. Without hesitation, Arthur and Nina stepped forward, their bodies beginning to shimmer and merge. The assembled crew watched in awe as they fused into a single luminous entity, the merge being reached out, interfacing directly with the command center systems. Through the hybrid entity's enhanced perception, the Alliance forces were able to coordinate their efforts with unprecedented efficiency. The tide of the battle began to turn, but not without cost. Several Allied ships were lost before the invaders were finally repelled. As the hybrid beings separated back into Arthur and Nina, the weight of the lives lost settled heavily upon them. The victory felt hollow, overshadowed by the realization of the enormous challenge that lay ahead. In the days that followed, the pressure on Arthur and Nina intensified. Military leaders from various species demanded their participation in increasingly dangerous missions to activate and control the ancient outposts. The burden of expectation grew heavier with each passing day. During a crucial strategy meeting, Arthur and Nina exchanged a look of silent communication before addressing the assembled leaders. "We've made a decision," Arthur began, his voice steady despite the gravity of their choice. Nina continued, "We want to undergo a procedure that could potentially accelerate our hybrid evolution. It's risky, but we believe it's necessary to unlock the full potential of our abilities." Dr. Zen stepped forward, his masked face tilted in concern. "The procedure you're proposing, we can't predict the outcome. The changes to your physiology could be irreversible." "We understand the risks," Arthur said firmly, "but we also understand what's at stake. The galaxy needs us to push the boundaries of what's possible." As preparations for the procedure began, a sense of anticipation mixed with apprehension spread throughout Unity Hub. Arthur and Nina stood at the threshold of a transformation that could change the course of the coming war, and perhaps the very nature of their existence. Humanity. As they prepared for the procedure, alarms blared throughout Unity Hub, interrupting the tense atmosphere. "Emergency alert! All personnel to battle stations." Captain Lyra's voice echoed through the corridors. Arthur and Nina exchanged a look of grit before rushing to the command center. The room was a flurry of activity as officers from various species coordinated their responses to the sudden threat. Long-range sensors had detected a massive fleet approaching the Milky Way, Lyra reported, her face grim as she gestured to the holographic display. "They're moving faster than we anticipated. Our timeline has been drastically shortened." The enormity of the situation settled over the room. The extragalactic invasion force was no longer a distant threat, but an imminent reality. The Alliance's carefully laid plans were now rendered obsolete by the accelerated timeline. As the command staff scrambled to formulate a response, a new voice cut through the chaos. "We need to convene an emergency summit immediately," declared Admiral Xanthor, a tall, imposing figure from the Xeraxian species. His scaled skin shimmered under the harsh lights of the command center as he strode purposefully towards Arthur and Nina. "Your abilities may be our only hope of mounting an effective defense," the Admiral said, his multifaceted eyes studying them intently. "I have a proposal that could turn the tide of this war before it even begins." Within hours, representatives from every major species in the Alliance had gathered in Unity Hub's Grand Assembly Hall. The tension in the room was palpable as Admiral Xanthor took the floor, his voice carrying easily over the murmurs of the assembled delegates. "We face an unprecedented threat," he began, "one that requires unprecedented measures. I propose the formation of a specialized task force led by Arthur and Nina, composed of the most compatible volunteers from Project Synthesis." The Admiral's words sparked an immediate uproar. Some delegates nodded in agreement, while others vehemently opposed the idea. The debate grew heated as concerns were raised about concentrating too much power in the hands of a small group of hybrids. Amidst the chaos, Dr. Lara stepped forward, her voice cutting through the din. "We've had success with a small group of volunteers," she announced. "While their abilities are not as advanced as Arthur and Nina's, they represent a significant leap forward in our defensive capabilities." To demonstrate her point, Dr. Lara introduced Lieutenant Kira, a former human fighter pilot. Kira's eyes glowed with an otherworldly light as she interfaced directly with the room's systems, displaying her newfound abilities to the stunned audience. As the summit progressed, a compromise began to take shape. The Alliance agreed to form the specialized task force dubbed Vanguard Prime, with Arthur and Nina as its leaders. However, strict oversight would be maintained by a council representing all major species. Just as the details were being finalized, Admiral Xanthor dropped another bombshell. "There is one more thing," he said, turning to Arthur and Nina. "I propose that you undergo the Xeraxian binding ceremony. It would permanently link your life forces, potentially enhancing your abilities even further." The room fell silent as all eyes turned to the hybrid couple. Arthur and Nina shared a look of uncertainty, the weight of the decision hanging heavy between them. Before they could respond, alarms blared once again. A holographic display materialized in the center of the room, showing a small group of extragalactic scouts breaching the outer defenses of a nearby star system. "That's the Nevera shipyards," Captain Lyra exclaimed. "If we lose that facility, our fleet production will be crippled." Without hesitation, Arthur and Nina stepped forward. "We'll do it," Arthur said, his voice firm. "The binding ceremony. If it gives us a chance to stop this invasion, we're willing to take the risk." Admiral Xanthor nodded solemnly, then turned to the assembled delegates. "We have no time to waste. Vanguard Prime must deploy immediately. I will personally oversee the binding ceremony en route to the Nevera system." As the Alliance scrambled to mount a defense, Arthur and Nina were ushered to a hastily prepared chamber aboard a Xeraxian cruiser. The ship's engines hummed with power as it raced towards the embattled shipyards. Inside the chamber, Admiral Xanthor began the ancient ritual. Arthur and Nina stood facing each other, their hands clasped tightly as swirling energy enveloped them. The pain was excruciating, their bodies feeling as if they were being torn apart and remade at the molecular level. Through the agony, they clung to each other, their shared love and commitment giving them the strength to endure. As the ceremony reached its climax, a blinding flash of light erupted from their joined forms, temporarily overloading the ship systems. When the light faded, Arthur and Nina emerged transformed. Their bodies emitted a soft, pulsating glow, and their movements were perfectly synchronized. As they stepped onto the bridge, the crew gasped in awe. Without a word, the newly bound couple interfaced with the ship's systems, their enhanced abilities allowing them to process vast amounts of tactical data in seconds. As they approached the Nevera system, they found the Alliance fleet struggling against the advanced technology of the extragalactic scouts. Arthur and Nina's minds reached out, connecting with the other members of Vanguard Prime. Lieutenant Kira, piloting an advanced hybrid fighter, felt their presence guiding her movements. Together, they coordinated the Alliance's counterattack with unparalleled efficiency. The battle was fierce but short-lived. Arthur and Nina, working in perfect harmony, activated a nearby defensive outpost that had lain dormant for millennia. A devastating energy weapon lashed out, neutralizing the enemy fleet in a matter of moments. As the Alliance celebrated their victory, Arthur and Nina stood on the observation deck of the Xeraxian cruiser, their entwined hands glowing with residual energy. They gazed out at the stars, acutely aware of the challenges that lay ahead. Their thoughts flowed seamlessly between them, individual memories beginning to blur and merge. This new state of being brought them closer than ever before, but also raised questions about their future as individuals. As the cruiser turned back towards Unity Hub, Arthur and Nina silently contemplated the road ahead. The extragalactic invasion force was still approaching, and the future of the cosmos rested on their shoulders. Their transformed existence would be the key to facing this threat, but the true test of their newfound abilities was yet to come. Come. As the Xeraxian cruiser docked at Unity Hub, Arthur and Nina's synchronized movements drew curious glances from the assembled crew. Their newfound connection had proven invaluable in battle, but the implications of their transformation were only beginning to surface. In the days that followed, news of Vanguard Prime's decisive victory spread rapidly through the Alliance. Holographic displays in Unity Hub's command center replayed the battle, showcasing the unprecedented coordination and efficiency of the hybrid task force. Lieutenant Kira's piloting skills, enhanced by Arthur and Nina's guidance, became the subject of intense study and admiration. Admiral Xanthor stood before the Alliance Council, his scaled skin glinting under the harsh lights. "The success of Vanguard Prime cannot be overstated," he declared, gesturing to the battle footage. "We must expand our hybridization efforts immediately." The council chamber erupted into a cacophony of voices, some in agreement, others expressing concern. Dr. Alara stepped forward, her face etched with worry. While the results are promising, we cannot ignore the risks, she cautioned. The procedure is still highly experimental, and the long-term effects on an individual's psyche are unknown. As the debate raged on, Arthur and Nina found themselves in the eye of the storm. Their once private thoughts now flowed freely between them, a constant stream of shared consciousness that blurred the lines of their individual identities. During a quiet moment in their quarters, Nina reached out to touch Arthur's face, her fingers tracing the faint glow that emanated from his skin. "Arthur," she whispered, her voice tinged with uncertainty. I'm not sure where you end and I begin anymore." Arthur's response came not in words, but in a flood of emotions and memories that washed over them both. Images of their first meeting on Novice Prime, the thrill of discovery as they explored ancient ruins, and the fear they felt when they first learned of the impending invasion all mingled together in a kaleidoscope of shared experiences. Their moment of introspection was interrupted by the blaring of alarms. Captain Lyra's voice crackled over the intercom. "Vanguard Prime, report to the command center immediately. We have a situation developing in the outer defense perimeter." Without hesitation, Arthur and Nina moved in perfect synchronization, their steps echoing in unison as they rushed to respond to the call. As they entered the command center, they were met with a scene of controlled chaos. Officers from various species worked frantically at their stations, their voices a mixture of different languages and tones. Admiral Xanthor turned to face them, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the urgency of the situation. "We've detected an anomaly near the edge of our sensor range," he explained, gesturing to a swirling mass of energy displayed on the main view screen. Initial readings suggested it might be a new tactic from the invaders, but we're no longer certain. Arthur and Nina stepped forward, their merged consciousness allowing them to process the incoming data at an unprecedented rate. As they interfaced with the command center's systems, they felt a familiar pull, a resonance with the ancient technology they had encountered before. "It's not the invaders," they spoke in unison, their voices carrying an otherworldly harmony. "It's a rift in space-time, likely caused by the activation of the ancient weapon we used in the last battle." Without waiting for orders, they initiated a deeper scan of the anomaly, their enhanced abilities allowing them to penetrate the swirling chaos of the rift. As they probed deeper, they felt a sudden resistance, as if the very fabric of space was pushing back against their intrusion. In an instant, a surge of energy erupted from the rift, engulfing Arthur and Nina in a blinding light. The command center erupted into panic as the couple collapsed to the floor, their bodies convulsing as the energy coursed through them. When the light faded, Arthur and Nina found themselves lying several feet apart, their mental links severed. The sudden silence in their minds was deafening, leaving them disoriented and weak. Dr. Alara rushed to their side, her medical scanner humming as she assessed their condition. "The energy surge has disrupted their binding," she reported, her voice tight with concern. "They've been forced back into their individual forms." As Arthur and Nina struggled to their feet, leaning on each other for support, the view screen flared to life once more. The rift had grown exponentially, its swirling energies threatening to engulf nearby star systems. Admiral Xanthor's voice cut through the chaos. "We need to contain this rift before it destabilizes the entire sector," he commanded. "Dr. Alara, prepare the prototype containment field. Lieutenant Kira, you'll lead the deployment team." As Vanguard Prime scrambled to respond to this new threat, Arthur and Nina exchanged a look of purpose. Despite their separation, they knew their knowledge and experience would be crucial in the coming battle. The rift pulsed ominously on the monitor, a stark reminder of the challenges that lay ahead and the delicate balance between progress and peril in their war against the extragalactic invaders. As the rift pulsed ominously on the monitor, Arthur and Nina exchanged a determined look. Despite their recent separation, they knew their combined knowledge and experience would be crucial in the coming battle. However, before they could formulate a plan, Alarms blared throughout Unity Hub, their shrill cries signaling a new crisis. Captain Lyra's voice crackled over the intercom. All personnel, brace for impact. We're experiencing unexpected power surges across the station. The command center shuddered as a wave of energy coursed through its systems. Consoles sparked and flickered. Holographic displays distorted into unrecognizable patterns. Arthur stumbled, catching himself on a nearby control panel, while Nina steadied herself against a support beam. Status report. Admiral Xanthor demanded, his multifaceted eyes scanning the chaotic scene. Dr. Alara's fingers flew across her medical scanner, her brow furrowed in concentration. The energy harvested from the space-time rift is causing unforeseen reactions with our hybrid technology, she reported. These power surges are overloading our systems faster than we can compensate. As if to emphasize her point, a violent tremor shook the station. The lights flickered ominously, plunging the command center into momentary darkness before emergency power kicked in. Admiral, a junior officer called out, his voice tight with urgency. We've lost contact with Sector 7. Initial reports indicate severe structural damage to the living quarters. Xanthor's scales rippled with concern. Dispatch emergency teams immediately. We need to evacuate any injured personnel. Arthur and Nina shared a silent glance, their recent mental link allowing them to communicate without words. They nodded in unison and stepped forward. Admiral, Arthur began, we might have a solution. Nina continued seamlessly. If we can interface directly with Unity Hub's core systems, we might be able to stabilize these energy fluctuations. Dr. Alara interjected, her voice tinged with concern. The risks are too great. The unstable energy could overwhelm your hybrid physiology. We have no idea what kind of damage it could do to your merged consciousness. Before anyone could respond, another surge rocked the station. Sparks rained down from damaged conduits, and the acrid smell of burning circuitry filled the air. Admiral Xanthor's gaze darted between Arthur, Nina, and the chaos unfolding around them. With a heavy sigh, he made his decision. Prepare for emergency evac protocols. All non-essential personnel are to be transferred to nearby Allied vessels immediately. As the command center erupted into a flurry of activity, Xanthor turned to Arthur and Nina. You have my authorization to proceed with your plan. Dr. Alara, assist them in any way you can. The next hour passed in a blur of frantic preparation. As Alliance members rushed to evacuate, Arthur and Nina were led to a specially designed chamber deep within Unity Hub's core. The room hummed with nearly unleashed energy, banks of computers lining the walls. Dr. Alara worked feverishly to modify the interface, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. I've adjusted the neural linkages to accommodate your unique physiology, she explained. But I can't stress enough how dangerous this is. At the first sign of trouble, we're pulling you out. Arthur and Nina positioned themselves on twin platforms at the center of the chamber. As the final connections were made, they reached out, their fingers intertwining. The familiar warmth of their bond flowed between them, a stark contrast to the cold, alien energy that surrounded them. Initiating interface in 3, 2, 1. Dr. Alara's voice faded away as Arthur and Nina were plunged into a sea of data and swirling energy. Their consciousness expanded, merging with Unity Hub's vast network. Streams of information flowed around them, chaotic and beautiful. They could feel the station's pain, systems straining against the onslaught of unstable energy. Working in perfect harmony, Arthur and Nina began to sift through the digital maelstrom. They identified nodes of instability, redirecting power flows and reinforcing weakened data pathways. It was painstaking work, each adjustment sending ripples through the entire system. Outside in the physical world, Unity Hub systems began to stabilize. Emergency lights flickered back to life, and damaged sectors reported successful containment of power surges. A collective sigh of relief swept through the remaining crew. But the reprieve was short-lived. As Arthur and Nina delved deeper into Unity Hub's core, alarms once again blared to life. This time, however, the threat came from beyond the station. In the command center, a breathless officer reported, "Admiral, long-range sensors have detected an unidentified vessel approaching at incredible speed. It's technology. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Admiral Xanthor's scales rippled with tension. "Is it the invasion force?" "Negative. Sir, it's a single ship, but its power readings are off the charts. It's surpassing even our most advanced stealth detection systems." As Unity Hub's crew scrambled to react to this new development, Arthur and Nina remained oblivious, locked in their digital struggle to save the station. The mysterious ship drew ever closer, its true nature and intentions yet to be revealed. The fate of the Alliance, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance as these disparate threads of crisis converged on Unity Hub. Hub converged. The mysterious ship, now clearly visible on the main view screen, loomed ominously as it approached Unity Hub at an alarming speed. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station, their shrill cry cutting through the tense atmosphere of the command center. Admiral Xanthor's scales rippled with agitation as he turned to face the tactical officer. "Report!" he barked, his multifaceted eyes scanning the holographic display. The officer's voice trembled as he responded, "Sir, we're detecting multiple warp signatures. It's the invasion fleet. They're here." As if to confirm his words, space itself seemed to tear open, disgorging a swarm of sleek, predatory ships. Their hulls gleamed with an otherworldly sheen, pulsing with energy that defied conventional sensors. Lieutenant Kira's voice crackled over the comms. "Vanguard Prime, reporting for duty, Admiral." "We're ready to engage." Xanthor nodded grimly. "Deploy immediately, Lieutenant. Coordinate with our allied vessels, and form a defensive perimeter around Unity Hub. We must buy time for Arthur and Nina to complete their work." As Vanguard Prime launched into the fray, the command center erupted into a flurry of activity. Officers relayed orders, coordinating the Alliance's response to this unexpected early arrival of the invasion force. Deep within Unity Hub's core, Arthur and Nina remained oblivious to the unfolding crisis. Their merged consciousness swam through rivers of data, desperately working to stabilize the station systems. But as they delved deeper, the boundaries between their individual identities began to blur. Arthur's thoughts melded seamlessly with Nina's, their memories intertwining like strands of DNA. Flashes of their separate pasts flickered through their shared mind. Arthur's childhood on Earth, Nina's first space flight, their initial meeting on Novice Prime, all coalescing into a singular tapestry of experience. Nina's voice, or perhaps it was Arthur's, echoed through their shared consciousness. "We're losing ourselves. I can't remember where I end and you begin." The strain of maintaining Unity Hub stability while grappling with their eroding identities pushed them to the brink of collapse. Warning signals flashed through the digital landscape, indicating critical failures across multiple systems. In the physical world, Dr. Alera monitored their vital signs with growing alarm. "Their neural patterns are destabilizing," she reported to Admiral Xanthor. "If we don't pull them out soon, we might lose them both." Before Xanthor could respond, Unity Hub shuddered violently. The view screen flickered, showing Vanguard Prime engaged in a desperate battle against the invading forces. Lieutenant Kira's tactical brilliance was evident in the formation of Alliance ships, but they were clearly outmatched by the enemy's superior numbers and technology. Lyra burst into the command center, her eyes wild with a mixture of fear and perseverance. "We're out of time," she announced. "We need to activate the Nexus Arc now." Dr. Alera whirled to face her. "But the integration process isn't complete. We haven't run the necessary tests." The risks are less than the certainty of our defeat if we do nothing, Xanthor interrupted. He fixed Lyra with a penetrating gaze. Do it. Lyra nodded and moved to a central console. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface, inputting a complex sequence of commands. The air in the command center grew heavy with tension as everyone held their breath waiting. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a surge of power that made the very fabric of space tremble, Unity Hub came alive. Energy coursed through its systems, overloading circuits and causing cascading failures across the station. In the core, Arthur and Nina's merged consciousness was violently ejected from Unity Hub systems. They found themselves back in their physical bodies, but something was terribly wrong. Their forms flickered and shifted, unable to maintain a stable shape. As they struggled to regain control, Lyra's voice echoed through the station, revealing the true nature of their enemy, a cosmic hive mind that consumed not just worlds, but the very essence of civilizations. Through the haze of their fluctuating forms, Arthur and Nina watched as ancient defensive systems across the galaxy sprang to life. Energy shields enveloped key Alliance worlds, while long-dormant weapon platforms unleashed devastation upon the invading fleet. Lieutenant Kira, quick to adapt, coordinated Vanguard Prime's efforts to herd enemy ships into the newly activated defensive zones. The tide of battle began to turn, but at a terrible cost. Unity Hub groaned under the strain of powering the galactic defensive network. Entire sections of the station began to buckle and collapse, unable to withstand the immense energies coursing through them. Dr. Lara, her face pale with the realization of what needed to be done, turned to Arthur and Nina. Your hybrid physiology, she explained hurriedly. It's resonating with the defensive network. You might be able to stabilize it and save Unity Hub. Arthur and Nina exchanged a look, their partially merged minds allowing for instant understanding. Without a word, they allowed themselves to be led to Unity Hub's central power core. As they approached the pulsing heart of the station, Lyra's voice came over the comms one last time, revealing the final, terrifying truth about their enemy. The hive mind wouldn't just destroy them, it would absorb their very identities, erasing them from existence. With this knowledge weighing heavily upon them, Arthur and Nina stepped into the power core. As their bodies began to glow with an otherworldly light, they reached out to each other, their hands intertwining. The station shuddered around them as they began to merge with its systems. Their physical forms started to dissolve, transforming into pure energy. In that moment of transformation, Arthur and Nina stood on the precipice of either ascension or annihilation, their fates inextricably linked to that of the entire Milky Way galaxy. As Arthur and Nina stood on the precipice of transformation, their physical forms began to dissolve, transforming into pure energy. The power core of Unity Hub pulsed with an otherworldly glow, drawing their essence into its intricate systems. As their consciousness merged with the ancient technology, a ripple of energy cascaded through the station. In the command center, Admiral Xanthor watched in awe as Unity Hub systems stabilized. Emergency lights flickered to life, and damaged sectors reported successful containment of power surges. The holographic displays danced with streams of data, showing the defensive network across the galaxy strengthening. Sir, an officer called out. We're detecting unprecedented levels of energy distribution across all systems. It's like the station is thinking for itself. Xanthor's multifaceted eyes widened as he realized the implications. It's not just a station, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. It's Arthur and Nina. Outside, in the chaos of battle, Lieutenant Kira noticed a sudden change in her ship's capabilities. Energy weapons fired with pinpoint accuracy, shields adapting instantaneously to enemy attacks. She watched in amazement as Allied vessels around her experienced similar upgrades. Vanguard Prime to Unity Hub, Kira's voice crackled over the comms. Something's happening out here. Our systems are operating beyond their specifications. What's going on? Before Xanthor could respond, Lyra burst into the command center, her eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and fear. "It's working," she exclaimed. "Arthur and Nina's merged consciousness is controlling the entire defensive network. Their human and alien perspectives are combining to create tactical advantages we've never seen before." As if to confirm her words, the view screen showed enemy ships experiencing unexplained malfunctions. Entire squadrons of invaders found their weapons disabled or their navigation systems scrambled. Dr. Alara, monitoring the situation from her station, frowned as she studied the incoming data. "Admiral," she said, her voice tight with concern, "Arthur and Nina's influence is spreading beyond our systems. They're reaching out to other networks, other technologies. I'm not sure they can control it." Xanthor opened his mouth to respond, but was cut off by a deafening alarm. The main view screen flickered, showing a massive object emerging from a spatial rift. It dwarfed even Unity Hub, its hull gleaming with an otherworldly energy. "Invasion fleet's mothership detected," an officer shouted. "Sir, its energy readings are off the charts. It's carrying some kind of weapon, something that could tear apart the very fabric of space-time." Lyra's face paled as she recognized the behemoth from her ancient civilization's records. "That weapon," she said, her voice trembling, "it could destroy everything we've accomplished. The defensive network, Unity Hub. All of it." "There must be a way to stop it," Xanthor growled, his scales rippling with tension. Lyra nodded grimly. "There is, but it won't be easy. The weapon can only be neutralized by a direct hit to its core. But the mothership's defenses are impenetrable to conventional weapons." Dr. Alara's eyes widened as a realization struck her. What about Arthur and Nina? In their energy form, they might be able to penetrate the ship's shields and disable the weapon from within. A heavy silence fell over the command center as the implications of her suggestions sank in. Xanthor turned to Dr. Alara, his expression grave. "What are the risks?" Dr. Alara hesitated before responding. "Substantial. Their consciousness is already stretched thin across our systems. Attempting to penetrate the mothership could result in them losing their individual identities entirely. They might become one with the cosmos, unable to return to their physical forms." As if in response to their discussion, a surge of energy pulsed through Unity Hub systems. Arthur and Nina's merged consciousness, now deeply integrated with the station, had been listening. Their thoughts, a jumble of human and alien perspectives, flooded the command center's communication channels. "We understand the risks," their voices spoke in unison, echoing through the station. "But we also see the opportunity. This may be our only chance to save not just the galaxy, but countless civilizations that have fallen to this threat." Xanthor nodded solemnly. "Very well. We'll need a way to transport your energy form close enough to the mothership for you to breach its defenses." Lieutenant Kira's voice crackled over the comms once more. "Vanguard Prime volunteers for the mission, Admiral. We can modify one of our ships to carry their energy signature." As preparations for this desperate mission began, Arthur and Nina's expanded consciousness made another startling discovery. Their thoughts brushed against the edges of the enemy hive mind, detecting familiar patterns within its vast network. "Admiral," their merged voice resonated through Unity Hub, "we sense echoes of civilizations within the hive mind. Traces of those who came before, absorbed but not entirely gone. There might be a way to awaken them, to turn them against their captor." Xanthor's eyes narrowed as he considered this new information. A two-pronged approach, he mused. "Lyra, Dr. Alara, can you develop a way to broadcast a signal that could awaken these absorbed consciousnesses?" The two scientists exchanged a look before nodding in agreement. "We'll need to work quickly," Lyra said, "but it's possible." As Lyra and Dr. Alara set to work, Xanthor turned his attention back to the battle raging outside. The Alliance fleet fought with renewed vigor, but the arrival of the mothership had shifted the balance once again. "Lieutenant Kira," Xanthor commanded, "prepare your ship for immediate launch. We'll use Vanguard Prime to create a diversion, giving you a clear path to the mothership." As the final preparations were made, tension filled the air of Unity Hub. The fate of humanity and all alien species hung in the balance, resting on the shoulders of two beings who were no longer entirely human or alien, but something new and unprecedented. Arthur and Nina's energy form pulsed with anticipation, their merged consciousness stretching across vast distances, yet anchored by their love for each other. As Lieutenant Kira's modified ship prepared to launch, carrying their essence towards an uncertain fate, they steeled themselves for the challenge ahead. The battle for the galaxy's survival was about to enter its most crucial phase, with the potential to either save countless civilizations or lose everything to the all-consuming hive mind. As Kira's ship detached from Unity Hub, Arthur and Nina's merged consciousness focused on the task ahead, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them within the heart of the enemy mothership. As Kira's ship streaked towards the massive enemy mothership, Arthur and Nina's energy essence pulsed within its modified containment field. The couple's merged consciousness stretched across the expanse of space, their thoughts intertwined with the fabric of the defensive network. As they approached their target, Arthur and Nina felt a shift in the energy surrounding them. The mothership's defenses, impenetrable to conventional weapons, now loomed before them like a vast, shimmering barrier. "We're approaching the outer perimeter." Kira's voice crackled through the ship's communication system. "Prepare for breach attempt." With a surge of will, Arthur and Nina's combined energy form pushed against the mothership's shields. At first, there was resistance, the alien technology fighting against their intrusion. Then, with a sudden give, they slipped through the barrier, their essence spreading throughout the massive vessel systems. As they penetrated deeper into the mothership's core, Arthur and Nina encountered an unexpected force. The hive mind entity, alerted to their presence, lashed out with a psychic assault that threatened to tear their merged consciousness apart. Alien thoughts crashed against their minds like tidal waves, each one threatening to erode their sense of self. In this moment of crisis, Arthur reached out to Nina, their love for each other becoming an anchor in the storm of alien cognition. "Nina," Arthur's thoughts called out, "stay with me. Remember who we are." Nina's response came not in words, but in a flood of shared memories. Their first meeting, their struggles and triumphs, the journey that had brought them to this point, all of it flowed between them, strengthening their bond. As Arthur and Nina fought to maintain their identities, Unity Hub sprang into action. Lyra and Dr. Lara, their fingers flying over holographic interfaces, activated the consciousness awakening signal. The broadcast pulsed outward, rippling through the enemy fleet. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Throughout the invading armada, ships began to veer off course, their movements erratic. Within the mothership, Arthur and Nina sensed a shift in the psychic landscape. The hive mind's assault faltered as countless absorbed consciousnesses began to stir, creating chaos within its carefully ordered structure. Seizing this moment of weakness, Arthur and Nina pushed forward, their energy forms surging towards the heart of the mothership. They breached the central weapon control system, unleashing their combined power in a devastating surge. Alarms blared throughout the massive vessel as system after system overloaded. The space-time destabilizer, the weapon that had threatened to tear apart the very fabric of reality, began to backfire. Localized rifts in space-time opened up within the mothership, the destructive energy turning inward. As the mothership systems cascaded into failure, Arthur and Nina made a startling discovery. Hidden within the ship's core, they found a vast repository of stored consciousnesses. Among them, one presence stood out, a being that resonated with a familiar energy. "I am Zorn." The consciousness introduced itself, its thoughts tinged with ancient wisdom. "I am, was, of Lyra's people." We have long awaited this moment. Zorn's presence expanded, sharing crucial information about the hive mind entity and its vulnerabilities. As Arthur and Nina absorbed this knowledge, they realized the true extent of their power and the sacrifice it would require. We can free them all. Nina's thoughts echoed through their shared consciousness. But we'll have to give up our physical forms entirely. Arthur's response came without hesitation. We've come too far to turn back now. Whatever happens, we face it together. As Arthur and Nina prepared for their final act, the battle outside the mothership reached its climax. Admiral Xanthor, receiving reports of the mothership's imminent destruction, ordered all Alliance ships to retreat to a safe distance. But a new problem arose. The consciousness awakening signal had affected some of the Allied hybrid technology, causing malfunctions in several ships' propulsion systems. Lieutenant Kira, having barely escaped the destruction of her own vessel, found herself facing a new challenge. "This is Lieutenant Kira." Her voice rang out over the Alliance communications network. "I'm taking command of rescue operations for the stranded ships. All functional vessels, form up on my position." As Kira coordinated the rescue efforts, Arthur and Nina made their decision. With a shared thought of farewell to their physical existence, they expanded their energy forms, encompassing the entire mothership and connecting with the stored consciousnesses. A brilliant flash of light erupted from the mothership, visible across the battlefield. The stored consciousnesses streamed outward, freed from their long imprisonment. The hive mind entity, cut off from its power source, began to collapse in on itself. The mothership's destruction created a massive shockwave that raced towards the remaining ships. Kira, leading the rescue mission, found herself directly in its path. In a desperate move, she attempted to create a protective field around the vulnerable ships, pushing her hybrid abilities to their limit. Just as Kira felt her strength failing, a familiar energy surged through her. The essences of Arthur and Nina, now free from physical constraints, joined with her, amplifying her powers. The protective field expanded, shielding the Allied vessels from the approaching wave of destruction. As the shockwave dissipated, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. The remaining enemy ships, now free from the hive mind's control, powered down. The alien crews, their individual consciousnesses restored, began sending out signals of surrender and requests for communication. Admiral Xanthor's voice cut through the silence. "Vanguard Prime, secure those surrendering vessels. All Allied ships, maintain defensive positions." As the immediate threat subsided, the true scale of what had transpired began to sink in. Lyra and Dr. Alera worked feverishly to understand the implications of Arthur and Nina's transformation, detecting traces of their energy signatures throughout the defensive network. Kira, still reeling from her connection to Arthur and Nina's energy essence, found herself at the center of a new mystery. Their presence lingered within her, a bridge between the physical and energy realms. As the Alliance fleet began its return to Unity Hub, carrying with them the liberated alien crews and the remnants of enemy technology, the galaxy stood on the brink of a new era. The battle was over, but the challenges of rebuilding and integrating the freed consciousnesses into the galactic community were just beginning. Kira stood on the bridge of her commandeered vessel, her gaze fixed on the stars ahead. She felt a faint pulse of energy within her, a reminder of Arthur and Nina's sacrifice and the uncertain future that lay ahead. As Unity Hub grew larger in the view screen, Kira steeled herself for the tasks to come, knowing that the true work of shaping this new galactic order was only just beginning. As Unity Hub's massive docking bays opened to receive the returning fleet, a sense of cautious optimism permeated the station. The aftermath of the conflict brought a flurry of activity to Unity Hub. Diplomats from various species, both long-standing members of the Alliance and newly liberated races, converged on the station. Meeting rooms buzzed with discussions of rebuilding efforts, integration strategies, and the formation of a new galactic order. Admiral Xanthor stood at the center of it all, his commanding presence a pillar of stability in the chaos. He moved from one negotiation to another, his voice firm yet empathetic as he addressed the concerns of each faction. "We have an unprecedented opportunity," he declared during a particularly tense session, "to create a coalition that represents not just physical beings, but energy-based consciousnesses as well. The sacrifice of Arthur and Nina has opened doors we never thought possible." Lieutenant Kira found herself thrust into a new role, one that strained even her enhanced abilities. As she walked the corridors of Unity Hub, she felt the constant presence of Arthur and Nina's energy essence within her, a comforting warmth that pulsed in sync with her heartbeat. "We need to establish a communication protocol," she explained to a group of wide-eyed scientists. "Something that bridges the gap between our physical realm and the energy plane, where Arthur and Nina now exist." As Kira spoke, she felt a familiar surge of energy. To the astonishment of those present, faint outlines of Arthur and Nina shimmered into existence beside her. The ghostly figures nodded in agreement before fading away, leaving the scientists in awe. Dr. Alara and Lyra worked tirelessly in their lab, surrounded by holographic displays and humming equipment. Their fingers danced across interfaces as they analyzed data from the defensive network and the newly freed alien species. "Look at this," Lyra exclaimed, pointing to a complex energy signature. "It's as if Arthur and Nina's essence has become intertwined with the very fabric of our technology." Dr. Alara nodded, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "If we can harness this, it could revolutionize our understanding of energy-matter interactions." Their scientific breakthroughs, however, were soon overshadowed by a more immediate threat. Alarms blared throughout Unity Hub, cutting through the din of diplomatic discussions and scientific debates. "Security breach in Sector 7. A voice boomed over the station-wide communication system. All non-essential personnel, evacuate immediately." Kira's hybrid senses tingled with danger. She sprinted towards the source of the disturbance, her enhanced reflexes allowing her to weave through panicked crowds with ease. As she approached Sector 7, she saw a group of alien intruders, their features unfamiliar and their weapons unlike anything she had encountered before. "This is Lieutenant Kira," she barked into her communicator. "I've engaged the hostile force. They appear to be of an unknown species. Requesting backup immediately." The leader of the attackers, a tall, reptilian being with iridescent scales, turned to face Kira. "I am Zaxlor," he hissed, his voice dripping with contempt. "Your pathetic alliance will crumble, and my people will rise to their rightful place as rulers of this galaxy." Kira didn't waste time with words. She launched herself at Zaxlor, her hybrid strength propelling her forward with incredible speed. The two collided in a flurry of strikes, each movement a blur to the naked eye. As the battle raged, Admiral Xanthor found himself trapped in the command center with a group of terrified diplomats. He quickly assessed the situation, his military training kicking in. "Barricade the doors," he ordered, grabbing a nearby console and dragging it across the floor. "We need to buy time for reinforcements to arrive." In the station's central database, Dr. Alara and Lyra fought a different kind of battle. Their fingers flew across holographic keyboards as they attempted to repel the cyber attacks launched by Zaxlor's team. "They're trying to access the defensive network protocols," Lyra shouted, her voice strained with concentration. Dr. Alara nodded grimly. "If they succeed, they could turn our own defenses against us. We can't let that happen." Back in the corridor, Kira found herself surrounded by Zaxlor's followers. Despite her enhanced abilities, she was outnumbered and outgunned. Just as the situation seemed hopeless, she felt a surge of energy coursing through her body. The air around Kira shimmered, and suddenly, the translucent forms of Arthur and Nina materialized beside her. The attackers stumbled back in shock, their weapons wavering. Seizing the moment of confusion, Kira launched into action. With Arthur and Nina's energy amplifying her abilities, She moved with impossible speed and precision. Alien weapons clattered to the floor as their wielders fell unconscious, one by one. Zaxlor, seeing his plan unraveling, snarled in frustration. "You may have won this battle," he spat, "but the explosive I've planted in your power core will ensure Unity Hub's destruction." Kira's blood ran cold. She turned to the ethereal forms of Arthur and Nina. "Can you locate the bomb?" The energy beings pulsed in response, and Kira felt a pull towards the station's heart. Without hesitation, she sprinted towards the power core, leaving the incapacitated attackers for the security teams to handle. As she ran, Kira's mind raced through possible scenarios. The fate of Unity Hub, and perhaps the entire Fragile Alliance, rested on her ability to disarm this alien device. With Arthur and Nina's energy essence guiding her, she steeled herself for the challenge ahead, knowing that the next few moments would determine the future of the galaxy. But as she neared the power core, a new realization dawned on her. This wasn't just about saving Unity Hub anymore. It was about preserving the future they had fought so hard to secure. With mere seconds to spare, Kira located the alien device. Her hands moved with practiced precision, guided by the ethereal presence of Arthur and Nina. As she defused the bomb, the energy beings pulsed with approval, their forms becoming briefly more solid before fading once again. In the aftermath of the attack, Unity Hub buzzed with activity. Security protocols were tightened, and Admiral Xanthor called for an emergency meeting of the Alliance leadership. As the dust settled, a new sense of purpose emerged among the station's inhabitants. Weeks passed, and the immediate crisis gave way to a period of intense scientific and diplomatic activity. Dr. Lara and Lyra's research into Arthur and Nina's energy signatures yielded fascinating results, hinting at possibilities beyond their current understanding of physics. One morning, as Lieutenant Kira conducted her routine patrol of the station, she felt a sudden pull from within. The energy essence of Arthur and Nina surged, directing her attention to a distant corner of space. As she focused her hybrid senses, she detected a faint anomaly at the edge of the galaxy. Kira immediately reported her findings to Admiral Xanthor. Within hours, Unity Hub was abuzz with plans for a research expedition. The Admiral, recognizing the potential importance of this discovery, personally selected Kira to lead the mission. "Your connection to Arthur and Nina makes you uniquely qualified for this task," Xanthor explained as they stood in the newly refurbished command center. "We need someone who can bridge the gap between our physical realm and whatever lies beyond." As preparations for the expedition ramped up, Unity Hub experienced a series of unexplained power fluctuations. Engineers traced the source to the station's central core, where Arthur and Nina's energy signatures were most concentrated. Dr. Lara and Lyra worked tirelessly to understand the phenomenon. "It's as if their consciousness is becoming unstable," Dr. Lara reported, her brow furrowed with concern. "The strain of maintaining their presence across the defensive network may be taking its toll." Admiral Xanthor, unwilling to risk losing the invaluable assistance of Arthur and Nina, authorized a risky procedure to stabilize their energy signature. A team of hybrid scientists, led by Dr. Lara, began constructing a specialized containment chamber designed to house and stabilize energy-based life forms. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Kira oversaw the final preparations for the expedition. The Horizon Seeker, a state-of-the-art research vessel, was outfitted with advanced sensors and scientific equipment. Its crew, comprising experts from various allied species, underwent intensive training to handle potential first contact scenarios. Kira spent hours in the ship's command center, familiarizing herself with its systems. The Horizon Seeker's hybrid AI, enhanced with fragments of Arthur and Nina's consciousness, responded to her commands with uncanny intuition. As the launch date approached, Unity Hub's long-range sensors detected a new development at the site of the anomaly. A massive structure, previously hidden by complex cloaking technology, began to materialize. Initial scans suggested that the structure was of ancient origin, possibly dating back to Lyra civilization or even earlier. The revelation caused a stir among the Alliance members. Heated debates erupted in Unity Hub's council chambers, with some viewing the structure as a potential source of advanced technology, while others feared it might contain weapons or defenses left behind by the extinct civilization. On the day of the launch, Lieutenant Kira led her crew aboard the Horizon Seeker. As they made final preparations, Arthur and Nina's energy form briefly manifested on the bridge. Their appearance, though fleeting, left a lasting impression on the crew. "The answers you seek lie within the anomaly," Arthur's voice echoed in Kira's mind. "But be prepared for truths that may reshape your understanding of existence itself." Nina's presence added, "Trust in your connection to us, Kira. It will guide you through the challenges ahead." Their manifestation caused a surge of energy that temporarily disrupted the ship systems, highlighting the ongoing instability of their condition. As the disturbance subsided, Kira felt a renewed sense of purpose and grit. The Horizon Seeker departed from Unity Hub, its sleek form slipping into the vast expanse of space. As they traveled, the crew conducted a series of experiments and training exercises. Kira spent much of her time in the ship's specially designed meditation chamber, attempting to strengthen her connection to Arthur and Nina's essence. Back at Unity Hub, Dr. Alara and her team achieved a breakthrough in stabilizing Arthur and Nina's energy signature. They successfully created a prototype of the containment chamber, capable of housing a small portion of the couple's vast consciousness. Initial tests showed promising results, with the contained energy exhibiting increased stability and coherence. As the Horizon Seeker neared its destination, the ship's sensors began to detect strange gravitational fluctuations and energy patterns emanating from the ancient structure. The anomaly generated a field that interfered with some of the ship's more advanced systems, forcing the crew to rely on more basic navigation and scanning methods. Lieutenant Kira, drawing upon her connection to Arthur and Nina, guided the Horizon Seeker through the treacherous space surrounding the anomaly. As they approached the massive ancient structure, the ship's external cameras revealed an awe-inspiring sight. A colossal space station, easily dwarfing Unity Hub, suspended in space. Its architecture defied conventional understanding, with sweeping curves and geometric patterns that seemed to bend the very fabric of reality. The Horizon Seeker established a stable orbit around the ancient station. Kira assembled a team for the first exploratory mission, selecting crew members with a diverse range of skills and expertise. As they prepared to board a shuttle for closer inspection, the ship's sensors detected movement within the station. "Something's awakening," reported the science officer, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and excitement. "The station is responding to our presence." Kira felt a surge of energy coursing through her body, the essence of Arthur and Nina growing stronger as they neared the ancient structure. She donned her specialized environmental suit, her movements precise and deliberate. "Remember your training," Kira addressed her team as they gathered in the shuttle bay. "We're about to make first contact with something beyond our current understanding. Stay alert, stay focused, and most importantly, stay together." As the shuttle doors closed behind them, Kira couldn't shake the feeling that they stood on the precipice of a discovery that would reshape their understanding of the universe. The fate of the mission, and potentially the entire galaxy, hung in the balance as they prepared to uncover the secrets hidden within the ancient station. The shuttle detached from the Horizon Seeker, gliding smoothly towards the enigmatic structure. As they drew closer, intricate patterns on the station's surface began to glow with an otherworldly light, responding to their approach. Kira felt a familiar warmth within her chest, the energy of Arthur and Nina guiding her forward into the unknown. As the shuttle approached the ancient station's docking bay, a crackling transmission from Unity Hub interrupted the tense silence. "Lieutenant Kira, this is Dr. Alara. We've made a breakthrough with the containment chamber." Arthur and Nina's energy signatures have stabilized, allowing for clearer communication. They have urgent information about the structure you're approaching. Kira's pulse quickened. Patch them through, Doctor. Arthur's voice, clearer than ever before, filled the shuttle. Kira, the station you're about to enter is more than just an artifact. It's a control hub for an entire galactic defense network. Proceed with caution. There are dormant systems that could pose a threat if activated improperly. Nina's voice joined in. Your hybrid nature will be crucial. Use our essence within you to interface with the ancient technology. Trust your instincts. Armed with this new knowledge, Kira adjusted her approach. As the shuttle docked, she briefed her team on the latest developments. Remember, we're not just explorers here. We're potentially reactivating a galaxy-wide defense system. Stay alert and report anything unusual immediately. The airlock hissed open, revealing a vast, dimly lit chamber. The team's footsteps echoed as they entered, their suit lights barely penetrating the darkness. Suddenly, their presence triggered a series of automated responses. Lights flickered to life, illuminating rows of dormant machinery. Holographic displays materialized around them, filled with indecipherable symbols and diagrams. Incredible, whispered Dr. Vex, the team's xenoarchaeologist. This technology is beyond anything we've encountered. Kira felt a familiar warmth in her chest, Arthur and Nina's essence guiding her. This way, she said, leading the team deeper into the station. They found themselves in a circular room dominated by a central console. As Kira approached, she felt an irresistible pull. Placing her hand on the smooth, alien surface, she gasped as information flooded her mind. A holographic map of the galaxy burst into existence above the console. Countless points of light represented similar stations scattered across space. Several pulsed an angry red, indicating malfunction or inactivity. It's a network, Kira explained to her awestruck team. This station is just one node in a vast defensive grid. As they explored further, a faint glow caught Kira's attention. In an adjacent chamber, they discovered a transparent pod filled with softly glowing liquid. Inside floated a humanoid figure, female, but clearly of an unknown species. Kira approached the pod, drawn by an inexplicable certainty. She's alive, she announced. And I think she's one of the creators of this place. Dr. Vex examined the pod's control panel. It appears to be a stasis chamber. We might be able to revive her. After careful deliberation, the team decided to proceed. As the revival process began, Kira felt a surge of energy from Arthur and Nina's essence. The liquid drained, and the pod opened with a hiss. The alien's eyes fluttered open, focusing on Kira with startling intensity. When she spoke, her voice was melodic and strangely familiar. I am Zara, custodian of the Nexus. You have awakened me from my long vigil. Zara explained that she was one of the last survivors of the ancient civilization that created the defensive network. She had entered stasis, waiting for the day when her knowledge would be needed to face a galactic threat. As Zara shared the secrets of the ancient station, alarms suddenly blared throughout the structure. Long-range sensors had detected an incoming threat, a massive swarm of robotic probes, scouring the galaxy for resources to consume. Kira made a quick decision. Half of you return to the Horizon Seeker, warn Unity Hub, and begin preparations. The rest of us will stay here with Zara to reactivate the defensive systems. As her team scrambled to action, Kira turned to Zara. How do we power up the station? There's an invasion force heading our way, and we need these defenses operational. Zara's expression grew solemn. The power source has degraded over millennia. To reactivate the network, we need an enormous influx of energy. Kira felt the warmth of Arthur and Nina's essence intensify. She knew what had to be done. I can channel their energy into the station's core. It's our only chance. Zara's eyes widened. The process could be fatal for you. Are you certain? Kira nodded, her teeth clenched. I have to try. As Kira positioned herself at the central console, Zara worked rapidly to prepare the systems. The station hummed to life around them, ancient machinery awakening from its long slumber. Kira closed her eyes, focusing on the energy within her. She felt it building, growing, threatening to overwhelm her. Pain lanced through her body as she began to channel the awesome power of Arthur and Nina's essence into the station's core. The chamber filled with blinding light as energy surged through the ancient systems. Kira gritted her teeth, her body trembling with the effort of containing the vast power flowing through her. Zara monitored the process, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. The network is responding. Other nodes are coming online across the galaxy. As the power transfer reached its peak, Kira felt herself slipping away, her consciousness fragmenting under the strain. Just as she thought she could endure no more, Zara's cool hands grasped her shoulders, steadying her. I've got you. Zara's voice cut through the pain. I'm stabilizing the transfer. Hold on, Kira. With a final, monumental effort, Kira pushed the last of the energy into the station's core. The chamber shook as wave after wave of power pulsed outward, racing along the newly awakened network. Kira collapsed, gasping for air. As her vision cleared, she saw the station around them transformed. Every surface glowed with vibrant energy, holographic displays filled the air, and a deep, resonant hum permeated the structure. Zara helped Kira to her feet, awe evident in her voice. You've done it. The Nexus is fully operational for the first time in eons. Before Kira could respond, a transmission cut in from Unity Hub. Admiral Xanthor's face appeared on a nearby screen, his expression a mixture of amazement and urgency. Lieutenant Kira, whatever you've done has supercharged our entire fleet. We're receiving tactical data from systems we didn't even know existed. But we'll need everything we've got. Long-range scans show the robotic swarm is larger than we initially thought. Kira straightened, pushing aside her exhaustion. Understood, Admiral. We'll coordinate from here. The ancient defense network is at your disposal. As the transmission ended, Kira turned to Zara. All right, we've got the ultimate weapon system at our fingertips. Now, how do we use it to stop an invasion? Zara smiled, a fierce light in her eyes. Let me show you what the Nexus can really do. As they bent over the central console, the distant stars seemed to hold their breath. The destiny of the universe hung in the balance, with the hopes of countless civilizations resting on the shoulders of an unlikely alliance, a hybrid lieutenant, an ancient custodian, and the reawakened power of a long-lost defense network. As Kira and Zara immersed themselves in the intricacies of the Nexus, a low rumble reverberated through the station. The floor beneath them trembled, and a series of lights flickered to life along a previously dark corridor. What was that? Kira asked, her hand instinctively reaching for her weapon. Zara's eyes widened. A section of the station is reactivating. It's been dormant for millennia. They exchanged a quick glance before hurrying down the newly illuminated passage. The corridor led them to a sealed chamber, its doors slowly grinding open after eons of disuse. As they stepped inside, their suit lights revealed a sophisticated stasis pod at the center of the room. Kira approached cautiously, her breath catching as she saw the figure inside. It's a human? Zara examined the pod's control panel. The stasis field is still active. We can revive him. After a brief deliberation, they initiated the revival process. The pod hissed open, releasing a cloud of cryogenic vapor. The man inside stirred, his eyes fluttering open. Where am I? He mumbled, his voice hoarse from disuse. Kira helped him sit up. You're on an ancient space station. I'm Lieutenant Kira of the Horizon Seeker. Can you tell us who you are? The man blinked, his mind clearing. Dr. Ethan Reeves. I was part of a secret expedition from Earth, studying the civilization's technology. When the station systems began to fail, I entered stasis as a last resort. As Dr. Reeves regained his strength, Kira's communicator crackled to life. Dr. Alara's excited voice filled the chamber. Lieutenant, we've done it. We've stabilized Arthur and Nina's energy signature and transferred a portion of their consciousness into a biosynthetic avatar. Kira's eyes widened. That's incredible, Doctor. What does this mean for our mission? The avatar is en route to your location, Dr. Alara explained. It will allow Arthur and Nina to interact more directly while maintaining their connection to the defensive network. As they absorbed this news, alarms blared throughout the station. Admiral Xanthor's face appeared on a nearby screen. Lieutenant, the robotic swarm has entered the galaxy's outer reaches. We're deploying the fleet, but we need every advantage we can get. Kira nodded grimly. Understood, Admiral. We're working on unlocking additional defenses here. With renewed urgency, they returned to the central control room. Dr. Reeves proved invaluable, his knowledge of the ancient systems complementing Zara's expertise. Together, they activated a powerful energy shield that encompassed key sectors of the galaxy. This will buy us some time, Zara said, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. But it won't hold forever. As they worked, a sleek transport ship docked with the station. The door slid open, revealing a striking female figure, the avatar of Arthur and Nina. Its presence seemed to energize the station, displays brightening and systems humming with increased power. Kira, the avatar spoke, its voice a harmonic blend of Arthur and Nina's. We're here to help. With the avatar's assistance, they accessed previously locked weapon systems. Massive energy cannons came online, their targeting systems locking onto the swarm's central control nodes. Kira felt a familiar warmth spreading through her body. She placed her hand on a nearby console, gasping as information flooded her mind. I can see the entire network, she breathed. There are hidden protocols designed specifically for threats like this. Working in perfect synchronization, Kira, Dr. Reeves, Zara, and the Avatar implemented the ancient defensive measures. A wave of energy surged through the network, tearing through the invading forces. The tide of battle turned, but victory came at a cost. The station groaned under the strain, structural integrity alarms blaring as key systems began to fail. Kira's face set in steadfast perseverance. We need to evacuate, but if we overload the power core, we can deal a final blow to the swarm. As the team rushed to the escape pods, Kira remained at the controls, timing the core's meltdown for maximum effect. The avatar of Arthur and Nina stood beside her, its energy forming a protective barrier. We won't let you sacrifice yourself, it said, guiding her to the last escape pod. The pod launched just as the station began to collapse. Through the viewport, Kira watched the ancient structure implode, releasing a massive electromagnetic pulse that spread across the galaxy. The robotic swarm, caught in its wake, fell into disarray. As the Horizon Seeker retrieved her pod, Kira saw the scattered remnants of the invasion force being mopped up by the Alliance fleet. She emerged to find Dr. Reeves, Zara, and the Avatar waiting for her. We did it, Kira said, her voice filled with awe and exhaustion. As they set course for Unity Hub, Kira gazed out at the stars. The galaxy had been saved, but at a great cost. The destruction of the central station had left gaps in their defenses, and the integration of ancient technology posed new challenges and opportunities. The Horizon Seeker's communications system crackled to life. Admiral Xanthor's voice filled the bridge. Well done, Lieutenant. But our work is just getting started. Report to Unity Hub immediately for debriefing. We need to discuss the implications of what we've discovered and prepare for what might come next. The Horizon Seeker docked smoothly at Unity Hub, its hull still bearing scorch marks from the recent battle. As Kira disembarked with her team, she was struck by the flurry of activity engulfing the station. Technicians and engineers rushed about, integrating salvaged ancient tech into modern systems. The air buzzed with a mixture of excitement and urgency. Admiral Xanthor greeted them at the airlock, his normally stoic expression softened by a hint of pride. "Well done, Lieutenant. Your actions may have saved us all, but our work is far from finished." He led them to a newly established command center, where holographic displays showed the ongoing reconstruction efforts across the galaxy. "We've formed a special council to oversee the integration of the ancient technology. Dr. Reeves, your expertise will be invaluable. You'll be heading our scientific division." Dr. Reeves nodded, his eyes gleaming with the prospect of unraveling millennia-old mysteries. "I'm honored, Admiral. There's so much we can learn from these systems." Turning to Zara, Xanthor continued, "Your knowledge of your civilization's technology is crucial. We need you to help bridge the gap between our understanding and the full potential of these systems." Zara inclined her head gracefully. "I will do all I can to aid in this endeavor." "And Lieutenant," the Admiral addressed Kira, "you'll serve as our liaison between military operations and scientific research. Your unique abilities make you ideally suited for this role." As if on cue, a shimmering figure materialized beside them, the avatar of Arthur and Nina, now known as Art Nina. Its presence seemed to intensify the energy in the room, causing nearby screens to flicker. "We are ready to assist in the reconstruction efforts," Art Nina said, its harmonious voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. Dr. Alara, who had been monitoring data streams nearby, approached with a concerned expression. "While Art Nina's capabilities are extraordinary, I'm detecting fluctuations in their energy signature. The strain of maintaining physical form while connected to the network is taking its toll." Kira felt a twinge of worry for her merged friends. "Is there anything we can do to stabilize them?" Dr. Alara's eyes lit up with the spark of scientific challenge. "I have an idea. Dr. Reeves, your knowledge of the ancient stasis technology could be key. We might be able to create a more permanent biosynthetic body for Art Nina." As the scientists delved into discussions of quantum entanglement and energy transference, Kira found herself drawn to a tactical display. It showed scattered pockets of robotic resistance across the galaxy. Admiral Xanthor joined her, his voice low and determined. "We've made significant progress, but there's still work to be done. I'm dispatching fleet units to eliminate these remaining threats." Kira nodded, studying the map intently. As she focused on a cluster of enemy signatures, she felt a strange sensation, as if she could perceive the energy patterns flowing through the defensive network. The feeling intensified, and suddenly she was aware of Art Nina's presence beside her, though the avatar hadn't moved. "You're changing, Kira," Art Nina's voice echoed in her mind. "Your hybrid nature is evolving, allowing you to connect with us and the network in ways we don't yet understand." Before Kira could process this development, alarms blared throughout the command center. A new cluster of signals appeared on the galactic map, originating from a previously unexplored sector. "Unknown vessels detected," a technician reported. "They don't match any known configurations." Admiral Xanthor's posture stiffened. "Hostile." "Negative. So they appear to be refugees." As the command center erupted into a flurry of activity, coordinates were relayed to the fleet. Kira felt a pull towards this new mystery, her enhanced senses tingling with anticipation. "Lieutenant," Xanthor's voice cut through her thoughts, "I want you to lead a diplomatic mission to these newcomers. Take the Horizon Seeker and a small team. Assess the situation and determine if they could be potential allies." Kira straightened, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Understood, Admiral. We'll depart immediately. As she moved to assemble her team, Kira caught sight of Dr. Alara and Dr. Reeves huddled over a holographic projection of a sophisticated containment unit. Their voices drifted over, filled with excitement about the possibilities of housing Artnina's full consciousness. Zara approached Kira, her ancient eyes gleaming with curiosity. "I would like to join your mission, Lieutenant. My experience with diverse civilizations could prove useful." Kira nodded, grateful for the custodian's support. As they made their way to the Horizon Seeker, Kira felt a strange mix of anticipation and unease. Her evolving abilities, the challenges of reconstruction, and now this new unknown. The galaxy was changing rapidly, and she was at the heart of it all. The ship's engines hummed to life as Kira took her place on the bridge. As they disengaged from Unity Hub and set course for the uncharted sector, she couldn't shake the feeling that this mission would be unlike any other. The stars streaked past the view screen, carrying them towards an encounter that could reshape the future of the galaxy. Kira's thoughts drifted to the challenges that lay ahead, unaware of the impending crisis that would soon engulf them all. As the Horizon Seeker approached the coordinates of the refugee vessels, a sudden, searing pain lanced through Kira's mind. She stumbled, gripping the edge of the command console as her vision blurred. "Lieutenant!" Zara exclaimed, moving swiftly to support her. Kira's legs gave way, and she collapsed to the deck. Through the haze of agony, she felt a presence, familiar yet alien. It was Artnina, their merged consciousness reaching out across vast distances, fraught with panic and desperation. "Unity Hub," Kira gasped, her body convulsing. "Something's wrong." As the Horizon Seeker's medical team rushed to the bridge, Kira's world faded to black. She found herself adrift in a sea of fragmented thoughts and memories, tethered to Artnina's disintegrating consciousness. Back on Unity Hub, alarms blared as emergency lights bathed the corridors in an eerie red glow. Dr. Alara's hands flew across the control panel of the containment unit, her face etched with tension. "We're losing power," Dr. Reeves shouted over the cacophony of warning signals. The surge has overloaded the main grid. The air crackled with energy as the containment field fluctuated, threatening to release Artnina's partially transferred consciousness. Dr. Alara made a split-second decision. "Initiating partial transfer protocol," she announced, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "We can't sustain the full transfer, but we might be able to preserve their core essence." As Dr. Alara worked to salvage what she could of Artnina's consciousness, Dr. Reeves frantically rerouted power from non-essential systems. The strain on Unity Hub's infrastructure was immense, and with a thunderous groan, several sections of the station lost atmospheric containment. Emergency bulkheads activated, a computerized voice intoned. Sections 12 through 17 sealed. Admiral Xanthor's voice crackled over the comms. "Status report, Dr. Alara. How bad is it?" "Critical, Admiral," she replied, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "We're attempting a partial transfer, but we're losing stability fast. We need more power." "Understood. Emergency response teams are en route with additional power units. Hold on as long as you can." On the Nidarian homeworld, Kira's unconscious form was rushed to a medical facility. Lyra, the lead Nidarian physician, hovered over her, brow furrowed in concentration as she analyzed the readings. "Her neural patterns are unlike anything I've seen," Lyra mused, her multifaceted eyes gleaming with a mix of concern and fascination. "The strain on her hybrid physiology is immense." A junior physician approached, holding a pulsating, translucent organ. "The bioorganic neural tissue is ready, Doctor." Lyra nodded, her voice resolute. "We have no choice. Prepare for integration. This may be her only chance." As Lyra began the delicate process of integrating the Nidarian neural tissue with Kira's nervous system, Kira's body arched, her eyes flying open. A burst of psychic energy pulsed through the room, causing nearby equipment to spark and flicker. Back on Unity Hub, Dr. Alara gasped as the containment field suddenly stabilized. "I don't believe it," she breathed. "We're getting an external stabilization signal. From the Nidarian homeworld?" Dr. Reeves' eyes widened in realization. "It's Kira. Somehow, she's interfacing with Art Nina's consciousness." The partial transfer protocol progressed, Art Nina's core essence gradually coalescing within the biosynthetic body. As the process neared completion, Dr. Alara noticed something peculiar. Their memories, their extended abilities, they're dispersing throughout the network, she reported, her tone a mix of awe and concern. "We've preserved their fundamental consciousness, but significant aspects of their merged state remain spread across the system." As the crisis on Unity Hub began to stabilize, the Horizon Seeker received an urgent transmission from Admiral Xanthor. "Lieutenant, we need you back at Unity Hub immediately. The situation here is complex." Zara, who had been coordinating with the Nidarian medical team, turned to the communications officer. "Inform the Admiral that Lieutenant Kira is in no condition to travel. The Nidarians are still stabilizing her condition." On the Nidarian homeworld, Kira's eyes fluttered open. The world around her seemed sharper, more vibrant. She could feel the pulse of the defensive network, a constant hum at the edge of her consciousness. Lyra leaned over her, relief evident in her multifaceted eyes. "Welcome back, Lieutenant. How do you feel?" Kira sat up slowly, marveling at the new sensations coursing through her body. "Different," she murmured. "Connected. What happened to me?" As Lyra explained the integration of Nidarian bioorganic technology, Kira's mind raced with the implications. Her enhanced abilities, the persistent link to Art Nina and the network. It was overwhelming yet exhilarating. Aboard the Horizon Seeker, Zara received a transmission from Unity Hub. Dr. Alara's holographic form flickered into view, her expression grave. The partial transfer was successful, but there have been complications. Dr. Alara began. "Art Nina's consciousness is fragmented. We need Kira's unique connection to help stabilize their new state of existence." As the Alliance grappled with these new developments, long-range sensors at the edge of their territory picked up unusual energy signatures. Admiral Xanthor studied the readings, his expression thoughtful. "These patterns," he mused, "they're similar to our defensive network, but they're coming from uncharted regions. Could there be more outposts out there?" The discovery raised a host of new questions, adding another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. As Kira prepared to return to Unity Hub, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger journey, one that would challenge everything they thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. The discovery of the unusual energy signatures at the edge of Alliance territory sparked a flurry of activity on Unity Hub. Admiral Xanthor wasted no time in mobilizing resources for a reconnaissance mission, recognizing the potential significance of these findings. As Kira recovered from her ordeal on the Nidarian homeworld, she found herself thrust into the center of preparations for this critical expedition. Her enhanced abilities, a result of the integration of Nidarian bioorganic technology, made her the ideal candidate to lead the mission. "Lieutenant," Admiral Xanthor addressed her during a briefing, "your unique connection to the defensive network and Art Nina's consciousness gives us an unprecedented advantage. You'll be leading this mission aboard the Horizon Seeker." Kira nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. "I understand, Admiral. When do we depart?" "As soon as the retrofits to the Horizon Seeker are complete," he replied. "Dr. Alara and Dr. Reeves have some updates for you regarding Art Nina's condition." In the lab, Kira found the two scientists huddled over a holographic display of Art Nina's biosynthetic body. Dr. Alara looked up as she entered, her expression a mix of excitement and concern. "Kira, Good timing, Dr. Alara said. We've made some interesting discoveries about Art Nina's new state of existence. Dr. Reeves nodded, gesturing to the display. The partial transfer has resulted in a dual existence for Art Nina. Their consciousness alternates between the physical body and the energy dispersed throughout the defensive network. Kira's brow furrowed. Is that causing problems? Yes and no, Dr. Alara replied. It allows Art Nina to process vast amounts of data from across the galaxy, but it's also causing periods of disorientation and memory gaps. Dr. Reeves activated another display, showing a small, intricate device. We've developed a neural interface to help Art Nina control these shifts. It's integrated into their biosynthetic body, but it will require regular maintenance. We believe Art Nina should join your mission, Dr. Alara added. Exposure to the ancient outposts might help stabilize their fluctuating consciousness. As the departure date approached, Kira found herself working closely with Lyra and her team of Nidarian scientists. Their expertise in bioorganic technology proved invaluable as they integrated new systems into the Horizon Seeker. The day of launch arrived, and Kira stood on the bridge of the newly retrofitted ship, surveying her crew. Art Nina's biosynthetic form occupied a specially designed interface station, while Lyra and her team manned the science consoles. All systems ready, Lieutenant, the ship's AI reported. Kira took a deep breath. Initiate launch sequence. The Horizon Seeker glided out of Unity Hub's docking bay, its engines humming with a new hybrid energy signature. As they cleared the station's defensive perimeter, Kira engaged a faster-than-light drive, and the stars blurred into streaks of light. Days into their journey, the ship encountered an uncharted nebula that defied their navigation systems. Kira ordered the Horizon Seeker to a full stop at the nebula's edge. Sensors are having trouble penetrating the gas clouds, Lyra reported, her multifaceted eyes reflecting the swirling colors of the nebula on the monitor. Kira turned to Art Nina. Can you sense anything through the network? Art Nina's form flickered slightly, their voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. I detect unusual energy patterns, but they're fluctuating rapidly. We should proceed with caution. With no alternative route available, Kira made the decision to enter the nebula. As they ventured deeper into the swirling gases, strange phenomena began to affect the crew. Several members reported vivid, shared dreams, while others experienced temporary enhancements to their natural abilities. Kira felt the changes most acutely. Her connection to the ship's systems intensified, allowing her to perceive the Horizon Seeker as an extension of her own body. She navigated through the nebula with intuitive ease, avoiding pockets of volatile gases and gravitational eddies. Art Nina's fluctuations became more pronounced within the nebula. During one particularly intense episode, their consciousness expanded throughout the ship's systems, inadvertently accessing restricted databases. Alarms blared as classified information from various Alliance members flashed across screens throughout the ship. Kira rushed to Art Nina's interface station, finding their biosynthetic form convulsing. Art Nina, you need to pull back, Kira urged, placing her hand on the cool surface of the interface. She felt a jolt of energy course through her, and suddenly she was adrift in a sea of data, connected to Art Nina's expanded consciousness. With effort, Kira helped guide Art Nina back to their physical form. As the alarm subsided, she became aware of the tension on the bridge. Several crew members exchanged worried glances, their trust shaken by the unintended information breach. Before Kira could address the situation, the nebula began to clear. The view screen filled with the sight of a massive asteroid field, and nestled within it, a structure that dwarfed even the largest of the space rocks. We've found it, Lyra breathed, her voice filled with awe. One of the ancient outposts. As the Horizon Seeker approached the structure, the ship's systems began to malfunction. Consoles sparked and flickered, affected by a powerful energy field emanating from the outpost. We're losing power to critical systems, the ship's AI warned. Kira's enhanced connection to the ship kicked into overdrive. She felt every system, every circuit, as if it were part of her own nervous system. With Artnina's consciousness linked to hers, she navigated the treacherous asteroid field, relying more on instinct than on the failing instruments. Just as they cleared the last of the asteroids, a massive energy pulse erupted from the ancient outpost. It engulfed the Horizon Seeker, overloading its power systems and sending cascading failures throughout the ship. "Brace for impact," Kira shouted as she fought to control their descent towards a nearby planetoid. The Horizon Seeker skidded across the barren surface, leaving a trail of debris in its wake. As the dust settled, Kira surveyed the damage. The ship was intact, but severely damaged. Long-range communications were offline, and the power core was barely functioning. As the crew emerged from the ship to assess their situation, the planetoid sun dipped below the horizon. In the gathering darkness, the ground around them began to glow with an eerie bioluminescence. Strange, plant-like organisms unfurled, bathing the crash site in an otherworldly light. Lyra approached Kira, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and scientific curiosity. "It seems this world is far from barren," she said softly. Kira nodded, her gaze fixed on the looming silhouette of the ancient outpost visible against the starry sky. "We need to repair the ship, explore that structure, and find a way to contact Unity Hub," she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of their situation. As the crew set up emergency shelters, Kira couldn't shake the feeling that their true mission was just beginning. The secrets of the ancient outpost, the mysteries of this strange planetoid, and the challenges of their own evolving abilities all lay before them, waiting to be unraveled. As the crew set up emergency shelters, the alien landscape around them pulsed with an otherworldly glow. Kira's gaze remained fixed on the looming silhouette of the ancient outpost, her mind racing with plans and possibilities. The first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, bathing the crash site in a pale, ethereal light. Kira gathered her team, her voice steady and authoritative. "We need to assess the damage to the Horizon Seeker. Let's move." As they approached the ship, the extent of the damage became apparent. The once sleek hull was scarred and dented, with panels torn away to reveal a maze of twisted circuitry and ruptured conduits. Kira led a small group into the ship's engine room, where the acrid smell of burnt electronics hung heavy in the air. The primary power core, usually a hub of pulsing energy, lay dark and lifeless. "It's worse than we thought," Kira muttered, running her hand over the cold surface of the core. "The energy pulse from the outpost has completely fried it." She turned to her crew, her expression resolute. "We need to split into 3 teams. One to salvage what we can from the ship, another to explore the surrounding area for resources, and a third to investigate that structure." As the teams dispersed, Lyra and her Nidarian colleagues huddled around a makeshift workstation near the ship. Their multifaceted eyes gleamed with drive as they began to adapt their bioorganic technology to the task at hand. "We might be able to create a hybrid power source," Lyra explained, gesturing to the glowing floor around them. "If we can integrate these bioluminescent organisms into our designs, we could restore some of the ship's essential systems." While Lyra's team worked tirelessly on their improvised power generator, Kira turned her attention to Artnina. The AI's biosynthetic form had stabilized enough to join the team investigating the ancient outpost. As they approached the imposing structure, Artnina's body began to emit a low hum. The sound grew in intensity as they drew closer, resonating with the energy field surrounding the outpost. Suddenly, the seemingly smooth surface of the structure began to shift and reconfigure. Seams appeared where none had been visible before, and a massive doorway materialized before their eyes. "Fascinating," Dr. Reeves breathed, his scientific curiosity overriding his caution. "It appears Artnina's presence has activated some kind of recognition system." The team cautiously entered the structure, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. The interior was a maze of corridors and chambers, filled with technology beyond their understanding. Holographic displays flickered to life as they passed, showing incomprehensible streams of data. In the central chamber, they discovered a circular platform surrounded by towering pillars of light. As Art Nina stepped onto the platform, a massive holographic display burst into existence above them, showing a detailed map of the galaxy. "It's responding to Art Nina," Kira observed, her eyes wide with wonder. "Look at all those markers. Could they be other outposts?" As Dr. Reeves began to study the star map, Art Nina's form suddenly convulsed. The holographic display flickered violently, and a deep thrumming filled the air. "Something's wrong," Kira shouted, feeling a surge of distress through her psychic link with Art Nina. "The outpost is powering up. It's overloading Art Nina's neural interface." Kira rushed to the platform, her enhanced physiology reacting to the ancient technology. As she touched Art Nina's shoulder, a surge of energy coursed through her body. The chaotic streams of data in the holographic display began to stabilize, coalescing into coherent patterns. I can see it," Kira gasped, her mind flooded with information. "The defensive network, the purpose of these outposts, it's all here." Back at the crash site, Lyra's team had made a breakthrough. Their bioorganic hybrid power source hummed to life, its pulsing glow a testament to their ingenuity. As they began to integrate it with the Horizon Seeker systems, the ground beneath them trembled. The tremors intensified, and the crew watched in disbelief as the planetoid's surface began to shift and change. Massive panels slid away, revealing gleaming metal and pulsing energy conduits beneath. "It's not a planetoid," Lyra realized, her voice filled with awe. "It's a ship." As night fell once more, the situation became critical. The seismic activity threatened to tear apart the Horizon Seeker and trap them on the transforming surface. Inside the outpost, Kira and Art Nina worked frantically to decipher the activation sequence hidden within the star map. As the final piece fell into place, the entire structure shuddered. "We've done it," Kira announced through the ship's comm system. "Everyone, get to the Horizon Seeker now. We're about to take off." The crew scrambled to secure their equipment and board the damaged ship. Lyra, her hands flying over the newly integrated bioorganic interfaces, established a tenuous link between the Horizon Seeker and the planetoid ship systems. With a deafening roar, the planetoid ship's massive propulsion system ignited. The Horizon Seeker, tethered to the larger vessel by Lyra's ingenious interface, lurched into motion. As they cleared the asteroid field, the ancient outpost erupted with energy. Beams of light shot out in all directions, connecting with distant points in space and forming a partial lattice of the long-dormant defensive network. The Horizon Seeker systems were flooded with data from the reactivating network. Art Nina's consciousness expanded rapidly, threatening to dissipate entirely into the ship's systems. Kira, her mind still linked to Art Nina's, fought to contain and stabilize the AI's fluctuating energy form. "Stay with me, Art Nina," she urged, her voice strained with effort. "Focus on my voice, on our connection." As the crew struggled to process the influx of new information and navigate their hybrid vessel, multiple signals began to light up their long-range sensors. "We've got incoming," the tactical officer reported, his voice tense. "Multiple vessels converging on our position." Kira looked out at the star-filled expanse before them, her mind racing with the weight of their discoveries and the challenges that lay ahead. The galaxy was changing, awakening to the power of the ancient defensive network. And they were at the center of it all. All, the secrets of the ancient outpost, the mysteries of this strange planetoid, and the challenges of their own evolving abilities all lay before them, waiting to be unraveled. With a deep breath, Kira made her decision. "We need to return to Unity Hub," she announced to her crew. "Our discoveries are too important to keep to ourselves." set a course for Alliance space. The crew sprang into action, their movements precise despite their exhaustion. Lyra and her team worked tirelessly to integrate the bioorganic power source with the Horizon Seeker systems, creating a hybrid vessel unlike anything seen before. As they prepared for departure, the planetoid ship beneath them hummed to life. Massive engines, dormant for millennia, ignited with a thunderous roar. The Horizon Seeker, now tethered to this ancient behemoth, lurched forward as they began their journey back to Alliance territory. The trip was fraught with challenges. The crew worked around the clock to stabilize the ship's hybrid systems, while Nina's consciousness continued to fluctuate, threatening to dissipate entirely into the vast network of the awakened defense grid. Kira spent hours by Nina's side, her mind linked with the AIs, serving as an anchor in the sea of data threatening to overwhelm them. "Stay with us, Nina," she murmured, her voice steady despite the strain. "We need you." As they approached the outer reaches of Alliance space, the tactical officer's voice cut through the tension on the bridge. Multiple contacts detected. Closing fast. Kira's eyes snapped to the view screen, where a fleet of sleek, unfamiliar vessels appeared. Their bioorganic design was unlike anything in the Alliance database. "Battle stations," Kira ordered, her voice calm but firm. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, preparing for a potential confrontation. Before any aggressive actions could be taken, Nina's form began to pulse with energy. The AI's consciousness expanded once more, this time broadcasting a signal that resonated with the unknown fleet. To the crew's amazement, the alien vessels responded by forming a protective formation around the Horizon Seeker. They fell into escort positions, guiding the hybrid ship towards Unity Hub. As they approached the station, gasps of surprise filled the bridge. Unity Hub had undergone a startling transformation. Sections of its structure now pulsed with bioorganic components, reminiscent of Nidarian technology. Admiral Xanthor's face appeared on the main view screen, his expression a mix of relief and urgency. "Welcome back, Lieutenant Kira. I see you've brought some new friends. Report to the main conference room immediately upon docking." The debriefing was intense. Kira and her team recounted their discoveries, from the ancient outpost to the planetoid ship and the reactivation of the defensive network. The Alliance leadership listened with rapt attention, their expressions growing more concerned with each revelation. "The reactivation of the network has accelerated our technological development," Admiral Xanthor explained. "But it's also drawn attention we weren't prepared for." As if on cue, a delegation of the unknown aliens entered the conference room. Their bioorganic forms shimmered with an inner light, and their movements were fluid and graceful. "Allow me to introduce the Zarketh," Admiral Xanthor said. They were drawn to the energy signature of the reactivated network. "They've expressed a desire to join our alliance." The room erupted in a cacophony of voices, some welcoming, others wary. Kira observed the Zarketh closely, noting their advanced technology and the way they seemed to resonate with Nina's fluctuating form. "Lieutenant Kira," Admiral Xanthor's voice cut through the noise. "Given your unique experiences, I'm assigning you as liaison to the Zarketh. We need to understand their technology and their intentions." Kira nodded, her mind already racing with the implications of this new development. As she moved to greet the Zarketh representatives, a commotion outside the conference room caught everyone's attention. Through the windows, they could see a large gathering of protesters. Signs denouncing alien influence and demanding a halt to the activation of ancient outposts were visible among the crowd. Admiral Xanthor's expression hardened. "It seems not everyone is as enthusiastic about our recent advancements. We'll need to tread carefully." Before Kira could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. A junior officer burst into the room, his face pale. "Sir, we're detecting a massive energy surge at the edge of the galaxy. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." The Admiral turned to Kira, his eyes reflecting the gravity of the situation. "Looks like your next mission has found you, Lieutenant. Prepare the Horizon Seeker. We need to investigate this phenomenon immediately." As Kira moved to assemble her team, she caught sight of the Zarketh. Their bioluminescent forms pulsed with an intensity that matched her own growing excitement and apprehension. Whatever lay at the edge of the galaxy, she knew it would change everything. The Horizon Seeker, newly upgraded with Zarketh technology, stood ready in the docking bay. Kira's diverse crew, a mix of humans, Nidarians, and now Zarketh, boarded the ship with a sense of purpose. As the docking clamps released and the ship began to move, Kira felt a familiar presence in her mind. Artnina's consciousness brushed against hers, more stable now, but filled with an alien curiosity. "Are you ready?" Kira asked, both aloud and in her thoughts. The ship's systems hummed in response, and Kira felt a surge of drive course through her. With a final glance at the troubled Unity hub, she gave the order, "Take us out! Set course for the galactic edge." The Horizon Seeker accelerated smoothly, leaving the turmoil of Unity hub behind. As they entered the endless expanse of space, Kira couldn't help but wonder what new mysteries and challenges awaited them at the source of that massive energy surge. The vastness of space stretched before them, a canvas of infinite possibilities and untold dangers. As they approached the source of the massive energy signature, the Horizon Seeker's sensors began to light up with warnings. Lieutenant Kira leaned forward in her command chair, eyes narrowing as she studied the readouts. "Multiple spatial anomalies detected ahead," reported the sensor officer, his fingers flying over the holographic interface. "Gravitational distortions and energy fluctuations, creating a maze-like structure around our destination." Kira's mind raced, processing the information. "Initiate evasive maneuvers," she ordered. "Utilize our hybrid systems to navigate through this hazardous region." The ship lurched as it entered the anomaly field. Outside the viewports, space itself seemed to twist and warp. Streams of energy crackled across the hull, causing the lights to flicker ominously. "Shields holding at 80%, called out the tactical officer. "But these anomalies are putting significant strain on our systems." Kira gritted her teeth, feeling the tension mounting on the bridge. "Artnina, can you map a safe route through this mess?" The AI's voice resonated through the ship's speakers, a hint of strain evident in its usually calm tones. "Analyzing patterns. Projecting optimal trajectory." A three-dimensional map materialized in the center of the bridge, showing a twisting path through the anomalies. The Horizon Seeker banked sharply, following the projected course. Suddenly, a violent tremor shook the ship. Alarms blared as red warning lights bathed the bridge in an eerie glow. "Direct hit to our portside propulsion array." Lyra's voice came through the comm system, tinged with urgency. "We've lost primary thrust control." Kira's hands tightened on the arms of her chair. "Divert all available power to stabilizers. We need to find a safe place to set down and assess the damage." As if in answer to her words, the sensors picked up a small planetoid nestled within a relatively calm pocket of the anomaly field. With no other options available, Kira gave the order to attempt an emergency landing. The Horizon Seeker shuddered and groaned as it entered the planetoid's thin atmosphere. Lyra and her engineering team worked feverishly to maintain what control they had over the ship's descent. With a bone-jarring impact, they touched down on the rocky surface, skidding to a halt in a cloud of dust and debris. As the dust settled, Kira unbuckled her restraints and stood, surveying the bridge. "Damage report," she called out. The tactical officer responded, his voice tight with concern. "Hull integrity at 62%. Propulsion systems offline. Shields are down to 15% and falling." Kira nodded grimly. "All right, let's get to work. Lyra, take a team and begin repairs on the propulsion systems. Dr. Reeves, I want you to analyze the composition of this planetoid. The rest of you, with me. We need to secure our perimeter and assess our surroundings. As the crew disembarked, they found themselves standing on a barren, rocky landscape. But amidst the desolation, something caught Kira's eye. In the distance, partially obscured by swirling dust, stood a series of structures that seemed decidedly unnatural. "Those look like ruins," Dr. Reeves observed, his scientific curiosity piqued. "Similar in design to the outpost we encountered earlier." Kira's pulse quickened. "All right, change of plans. Dr. Reeves, you're with me. We're going to investigate those ruins. The rest of you, maintain a defensive perimeter around the ship and assist with repairs as needed." As they approached the ancient structures, Kira couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of uncovering something monumental. The ruins loomed before them, their weathered surfaces etched with intricate patterns that seemed to pulse with a faint inner light. "Look here," Dr. Reeves called out, gesturing to a partially concealed entrance. "This appears to be a way into an underground complex." With a nod from Kira, they cautiously entered the subterranean structure. As they descended, the air grew thick with the scent of ozone and the walls hummed with barely held back energy. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber filled with advanced technology beyond anything they had encountered before. At its center stood a massive energy core, pulsing with power. Kira tapped her communicator. "Artnina, we've found something. I need you to interface with this technology if you can." There was a moment of silence. Then Artnina's consciousness seemed to flood the chamber. The AI's form materialized near the energy core, flickering and unstable at first, but then suddenly snapping into sharp focus. "Lieutenant," Artnina's voice rang out, clearer than it had been in days. "This core, it's stabilizing my consciousness. And there's more. It's activating." As if in response to Artnina's words, the energy core flared to life. A massive holographic projection of the galaxy materialized above them, filling the chamber with pinpoints of light. Scattered throughout the projection were highlighted locations, interconnected by pulsing lines of energy. "It's a network," Kira breathed, her eyes wide with realization. "All those outposts we've been discovering. They're part of something much bigger." Dr. Reeves studied the projection intently. "And this location, it appears to be a central hub. The energy surge we detected must have been this place reactivating, trying to reconnect with the other outposts." Before Kira could respond, her communicator crackled to life. It was one of the Zarketh representatives aboard the Horizon Seeker. "Lieutenant Kira." The alien's voice was filled with a mixture of excitement and confusion. "Our bioorganic sensors have detected something unexpected. There are traces of Zarketh technology integrated into the systems of this planetoid." Kira exchanged a startled look with Dr. Reeves. The implications of this revelation were staggering, suggesting a connection between the Zarketh and the creators of this ancient defensive network. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. The walls of the chamber shuddered, and dust rained down from the ceiling. "What's happening?" Dr. Reeves shouted over the growing rumble. Kira's instincts screamed danger. "We need to get back to the ship, now." As they raced through the collapsing tunnels, Kira's mind whirled with the magnitude of their discoveries. Whatever this place was, whatever secrets it held, one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. They emerged from the ruins to find the surface of the planetoid transforming before their eyes. Massive sections of rock shifted and reconfigured, revealing gleaming metal and pulsing energy conduits beneath. "It's not just a planetoid," Kira realized, her voice filled with awe and trepidation. "It's a space station." As they sprinted back towards the Horizon Seeker, the transformation accelerated. The ship, still undergoing repairs, was suddenly enveloped by the shifting terrain. Kira watched in disbelief as their vessel was drawn into a colossal hangar bay that had materialized out of nowhere. They barely made it aboard before the hangar sealed behind them. The Horizon Seeker now stood in the belly of a gargantuan space station, dwarfing anything the Alliance had ever encountered. As the crew regrouped on the bridge, trying to make sense of their situation, the station systems roared to life. A signal, more powerful than anything they had ever detected, began broadcasting across the galaxy. The Horizon Seeker's communication array lit up with incoming transmissions. Reports flooded in from Alliance worlds across the galaxy, all telling the same story. Ancient structures, long dormant, were suddenly activating on planets throughout Alliance space. Amidst the chaos of reports and alarms, a priority transmission cut through. Admiral Xanthor's face appeared on the main view screen, his expression a mix of concern and tenacity. "Lieutenant Kira," he began, his voice grave, "I'm mobilizing the entire Alliance fleet. We need to secure and investigate these newly revealed outposts. I'm dispatching a task force to your location immediately. Whatever you've stumbled upon, it's clear that it's of critical importance." As the Admiral continued outlining the situation, Kira's attention was drawn to Artnina. The AI's form, now fully stabilized, was interfacing directly with the station systems. "Lieutenant," Artnina called out, excitement evident in their voice. "I've accessed the station's data archives. This network, it's not just for defense. It's a system of galactic transportation and communication." Before Kira could fully process this information, the station's core began to pulse with increasing intensity. The surrounding spatial anomalies twisted and churned, forming a swirling vortex of energy around the station. "Artnina, what's happening?" Kira demanded, feeling the situation spiraling out of control. "The station is powering up its primary function," Artnina replied, their voice filled with awe. "It's preparing to open a controlled wormhole to distant parts of the galaxy." As the implications of this revelation sank in, the Horizon Seeker's long-range sensors suddenly blared a warning. Multiple unidentified vessels were rapidly approaching their position, their energy signatures unlike anything in the Alliance database. Kira's mind raced, weighing her options. The wormhole technology could revolutionize galactic travel and communication, but in the wrong hands, it could also pose an unimaginable threat. With the station's power building to unprecedented levels and unknown ships closing in, Kira knew she had to act fast. Her decision now could alter the course of galactic history. "Battle stations," Kira ordered, her voice ringing out across the bridge. "Prepare for potential hostile contact. And someone get me a direct line to that approaching task force. We're going to need all the help we can get." As the crew sprang into action, Kira stared out at the swirling vortex of energy surrounding the station. Whatever came through that wormhole, whatever intentions the approaching ships had, she knew that the next few moments would shape the future of the entire galaxy. The Horizon Seeker, cradled within the ancient station, stood as the last line of defense against the unknown. As the energy buildup reached its crescendo and the unidentified ships drew ever closer, Kira steeled herself for the challenges ahead. The true test of their discoveries, their abilities, and their willpower was about to begin. The true test of their discoveries, their abilities, and their willpower was about to unfold. As the unidentified vessels drew closer, their alien designs becoming clearer on the display, Lieutenant Kira made a split-second decision that would alter the course of galactic history. "Hold your fire," she commanded, her voice steady despite the tension crackling through the air. "Artnina, I need you to broadcast a message of peace. Use everything we've learned about human, Nidarian, and Zarketh cultures. Let's show them who we are." Artnina's holographic form shimmered with newfound stability as the AI processed the request. "Understood, Lieutenant. Compiling message now." The bridge fell silent as Artnina's voice, infused with the collective wisdom and experiences of their journey, resonated through space. The message spoke of unity, of the Alliance's commitment to exploration and cooperation, and of their hope for peaceful contact. Seconds stretched into minutes as they waited for a response. The approaching ships slowed their advance, their energy signatures fluctuating in a pattern that suggested communication. Suddenly, the main view screen lit up with an incoming transmission. The image that appeared left the crew of the Horizon Seeker speechless. The beings on the screen were unlike anything they had encountered before. Their forms seemed to shimmer between solid matter and pure energy. "We are the architects," a melodious voice announced, its tones carrying an air of ancient wisdom. "We have awaited this moment for millennia." Kira stepped forward, her heart racing. "I am Lieutenant Kira of the Alliance vessel Horizon Seeker. We come in peace and seek to understand." The architect's form rippled with what might have been amusement. "We know who you are, Lieutenant. We have observed your journey, your discoveries. You have reactivated our network, and in doing so, have proven yourselves worthy." As the architect vessel smoothly docked with the station, Kira organized a delegation to meet their new allies. She led the group, which included Dr. Reeves, Lyra, and representatives from each Alliance species, through the transforming corridors of the ancient structure. They entered a vast chamber, its walls alive with shifting patterns of light and energy. The architects awaited them, their presence filling the room with an almost tangible sense of power and knowledge. One of the architects glided forward, its form coalescing into a more solid state. "We are the creators of this network, the ancestors of those you call the Zarketh. We entered stasis long ago, waiting for a civilization capable of understanding and responsibly using our technology." Dr. Reeves couldn't contain his curiosity. "The wormhole generator, what is its purpose?" The architect's form pulsed with excitement. "It is a bridge between galaxies, designed to foster cooperation and exchange on a scale you have yet to imagine." Over the next few hours, the architects shared insights that left even the most brilliant minds of the Alliance reeling. They spoke of technologies beyond comprehension, of the true nature of space and time, and of the countless civilizations that awaited discovery. With the architect's guidance, Kira and her team worked tirelessly to stabilize the wormhole generator. The swirling vortex of energy that had threatened to tear the station apart now coalesced into a stable, shimmering portal. As news of their encounter spread, ships from across the Alliance converged on the station. Admiral Xanthor arrived with a fleet of diplomats and scientists, his normally stern features softened by awe as he took in the magnitude of their discovery. "Lieutenant Kira," he said, placing a hand on her shoulder, "you've done more than just complete your mission. You've opened up a new chapter in the history of our galaxy, of all galaxies." In the days that followed, representatives from every Alliance world gathered to discuss the implications of the wormhole network. The once cavernous chambers of the station buzzed with excited conversation in 100 different languages. Amidst a flurry of activity, Kira found herself grappling with a deeply personal decision. The Alliance was preparing its first official intergalactic expedition, and she was the clear choice to lead it. Yet the thought of leaving behind everything she knew filled her with a mix of excitement and trepidation. As she stood alone on an observation deck, gazing out at the stars that now seemed both more familiar and more mysterious than ever, she heard familiar footsteps approaching. "Credit for your thoughts?" Lyra's voice was soft, tinged with an emotion Kira couldn't quite place. Kira turned to face her friend and colleague, struck once again by the unique beauty of Lyra's Nidarian features. "I'm just processing everything. This is bigger than anything we could have imagined." Lyra stepped closer, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing gently. "It is, and that's why I can't let you face it alone." "What do you mean?" Kira asked, her breath catching in her throat. Lyra took Kira's hands in her own, their fingers intertwining in a perfect fit despite their physiological differences. "I mean that I want to join you on this expedition, Kira. not just as your engineer, but as more. Kira's heart raced as she realized the full implication of Lyra's words. The connection between them, built over countless shared adventures and quiet moments, had deepened into something profound. Yoro, Elshir, Kira began, her voice thick with emotion. But before she could finish, alarms blared throughout the station. The wormhole generator was powering up, its energy signature spiking to unprecedented levels. Kira and Lyra exchanged a look of tenacity, their personal moments suspended but not forgotten. As they raced towards a control room, Kira knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, she wouldn't face them alone. The station trembled as the wormhole expanded, its swirling vortex growing larger by the second. As they burst into the control room, Kira saw the architects gathered around the central console, their forms flickering with urgency. "What's happening?" Kira demanded, her training kicking in despite the chaos. The lead architect turned to her, its voice resonating with both excitement and concern. "The network is fully activating. The true test of your civilization is about to begin." As the wormhole stabilized, its event horizon shimmering with possibilities, Kira realized that their journey of discovery was a long way to go. In fact, it was just beginning.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.